Welcome to Truth Uncompromised. I am your host, Rhonda. Join us every Thursday at 7 p.m. Eastern Time. Truth is peace. Truth is justice and freedom to love, live, and be. Music provided by sourcevibrations.com. All right, family. Welcome to the Truth Uncompromised show. I am your host, Rhonda, and tonight is Thursday, August 24th. We have a great show planned for you tonight. We actually have a lot to talk about tonight. I definitely want to do a follow-up on the eclipse that we had, and also I do want to do a little acknowledgement to the transition of Dick Gregory. So we will do that tonight, as well as our main topic, which is fairy tales and the spirit world. So with that said, I am going to bring on my co-host. And that song that I just played, I tried to play it Saturday. Yeah, we run air Saturday. It's called Black Gold of the Sun. Now, the original one was done in the 70s, but that one was done in, I want to say, the late 90s. It's off of a compilation CD. I'm dating myself. I'm straight dating myself. Well, it was a CD when it came out. I got it as a CD by New Eurekan Soul. That's a good one to have. They have a lot of artists on there that's putting out some great music. So that one just so happened to be on there. So with that said, let me bring on my co-host. I see Brother Wendell. I see Sis Sandra. I see Brother Sean. I'm trying to learn that new number, Brother Sean. So let me bring on Brother Wendell. Let's see what he eating on tonight. So let's see, or what he didn't already cooked or slammed on. Here we go. Greetings, Brother Wendell.
Nothing.
You like me. I didn't have time. I just snacked on some popcorn. That's unlike you. You must have been on the go.
Yeah, I had been kind of strung out. I ate my little popcorn and I just chewed on a little tomato a few minutes ago. I'm good.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I feel you. Sometimes it's just like that. You're either not hungry or you just on the go. So how you doing?
I'm all right, I reckon.
Okay.
I'm all right.
Okay. Well, good. Let me bring on Brother Sean. Here we go. Let me try this again. Greetings, brother.
Greetings, beloved sister. Greetings, Brother Wendell.
How you doing, my brother?
I'm all right. Just ready to get off into this topic.
I know. We had to stop ourselves from going back and forth. You were like, save it for the show. Yeah, we got a lot to cover tonight. Okay, let me bring in Sis Sandra. Here we go. Greetings, sis.
Greetings to all. Brother Wendell. Brother.
Greetings.
Rhonda. Yes. We have had some wonderful things happen to this planet. I don't know how good it's going to be when it's all said and done, but
Yeah, it's been a lot going on. I'm going to, before we get into follow up with the eclipse, because that's going to become a hot topic, because we got to discuss the energy part of it. Then we're going to have to discuss some trickery that folk tried to pull out of their hat. So before we do that, I do want to get into Brother Dick Gregory transition earlier this week. So he was born on October 12, 1932, and he transitioned on August 19th of this year. He was an American comedian, civil rights activist, social critic, writer, entrepreneur. They had the nerve to put conspiracy theorist and occasional actor. Okay, Dick Gregory's people, y'all need to come up in here in Wikipedia and change that conspiracy theorist crap. But anyway, during the turbulent 1960s, Gregory became a pioneer in stand-up comedy for his no-holds-barred sets in which he mocked bigotry and racism. He performed primarily to black audience at segregated clubs until 1961, when he became the first black comedian to successfully cross over to white audiences, appearing on television and putting out comedy record albums. Gregory was at the forefront of political activism in the 1960s when he protested the Vietnam War and racial injustice. He was arrested multiple times and went on many hunger strikes. He later became a motivational speaker and author, primarily promoting spirituality. Gregory died of heart failure at a Washington, D.C. hospital at the age of 84 in August 2017. So we want to send out honor and libations to Brother Gregory. I do have a clip that I want to share with the family. Brother Jesse Lewis put it out on Facebook because I was trying to look for it's so much material out there with Brother Gregory. He left a wealth of material. So I was struggling with finding the right clip to fit into what we just experienced with the eclipse. And sure enough, Brother Jesse put it out there on Facebook. So I want to share this clip. It's really interesting. He's going to talk on the concept of God, and you're going to find some interesting information out about John Lennon, which is the reason why I played the song Imagine during the opening. So this clip is only 12 minutes, but it's very, very powerful. I want to play it so you could get the other side of Brother Gregory on the spirituality side, because too many times we think of him in the aspect of, quote, quote, as they say, conspiracy theorists. But he was also deep into metaphysics / spirituality as well. So this clip is titled The Power of God and Fasting. So here we go. It's only 12 minutes long. This is in honor of Brother Dick Gregory. Here we go.
Tons of fast. Do you feel it brings you closer to God?
I'm God, you God. See, I can't answer that. I said God means power. Power. Sure, you feel power.
So what are the benefits of a fast? What are the benefits of a fast?
Let me ask me that on the...
Yeah, it's wrong.
Oh, okay. You don't fast to make bad people good people. You fast to create a positive energy force where other forces can gather. The word fast means to abstain from. So if you drinking water, you're on a water diet. That's not a fast. You're drinking fruit juice, you're on a fruit juice diet. When you take nothing, when you talk about the story of Jesus and them, that's 40 days on just breathing. I never understood why Gandhi got so much play. He as long as he fasted for 13 days. I didn't realize that's 13 days with nothing. Just breathing. And then everything in the body changes. The universe takes over. And the people who know more than anybody else is the Church of God in Christ. See, I always thought you had to go X amount of days taking juice to get ready for a fast. Then they go from eating dinner to a fast. And when they break their fast, they go right back to the pork chops and nothing happens to them. But also it heals, it cleanses. See, once you go on a fast, the body starts consuming itself. So if you took a comb and combed your hair, what are the hairs going to come out of the comb, the weak ones or the strong ones?
The weak ones.
Okay, so if you have cancer, when you go on a fast, it starts eating up all. That's how you heal. The day you was here, if you just assume when the universe invented this planet, it hadn't been back. So if it wasn't here then it's supposed to be here now. If it's here now, it wasn't made by the universe. Well, just had a hell of a story the other day. The third cause of death in America. One is heart condition, cancer, and doctors making a mistake. Is that kind of incredible, man? Mm-hmm. Is that part?
It's deep.
Yeah, and so that's what fasting.
What got you into fasting?
A woman named Dr. Fulton, probably the #1 faster on the planet. She's dead now, but a black woman in Chicago. Yeah, incredible.
But you fasted until peace was attained, or there were different missions. So was prayer part of the ritual of fasting for you, or? I
didn't. No, I just said I wasn't going to eat no more solid food till the war in Vietnam. So I didn't know it was going to take 2.5 years. I said, hurry up, get it over.
What was the first thing you ate?
Huh?
What was the first thing you ate?
I don't remember that.
No? Because it's part of the sacrifice?
No, I do so many fasts. I do so many fasts. As long as I've gone on water, it's 180 days. The long on fruit juice is 2.5 years. The longest I've gone on nothing is like 3 weeks. Yeah. And then you start seeing things happen. You know.
Like what?
If I'm in this building here and there's a circuit that's bad, it might not set the building on fire for 30 years, but to protect me, it blows it out immediately. Okay, just everything go. That's fast. That's the universe.
Because you're in sync with a different level of energy.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's very simple ways to tap into that energy.
Huh?
There are simple ways to tap into that energy, that spiritual power.
Yeah, but fasting is the way. I'm sure other cultures got different other plans to do. And so when you know what I know, I knew a woman named Mother Gibson, Chicago. If you went to the Hilton Hotel today and she's still alive and killed everybody in here, if I called her for the police, you never do a day in jail. You know. Now, whether that's good to use it that way or not, I would assume it's not. You know. But those people who do that, they can't charge you. Because that means Queen Elizabeth could afford you, but poor folk couldn't. But the rich folks will give. She kept $500 million under her bed. Because the people that have it. I carried John Lennon by there when the government wouldn't let him in the country. And she said, Mother, take care of it. But see, you also don't understand how they talk. She said, yeah, Mother, take care of it, but you make sure you want to live here? She said, yes, because if you come here, you never be able to leave. Now, I didn't know she was talking about he'd be killed. But see, they talk, you know. And but the more you fast, you pick up other things. I remember me and John Lennon got real good friends. I said, who are you? Do you know who you are? I asked him. He says, No, but why'd you ask? A poor little ignorant redneck cracker like you out of that part of Britain ain't never made it big. How'd you do it? He said that whole thing was CIA and British intelligence. He said all our songs was to turn white children into drugs. He said, you know how high you got to be to see a yellow submarine? Hey Jude, that's about heroin. What's the thing, LS something? And y'all know the word?
LS in the sky with diamonds.
Yeah, that's LSD. It spells LSD. And when they came over here for the Ed Sullivan show, and then 200,000 white women was waiting to cheer, all that was a trick. That was a game, you know. And then as he spent money to do things, his thing changed. That's why the rest of them stayed the same. But his thing changed. I mean, he was...
His consciousness.
Oh, Jesus, did it ever?
Well, talk about him. I mean, I know you talk about him. I know you helped him. You spent a lot of time together.
No, I don't listen to music. No, I want to hear blues for about some negative shit. My baby done left me. I'm 12 years old, ain't even had sex, and I'm thinking about negative stuff. You know, how'd you learn your ABCs? You kept repeating it. And so somebody was calling me that I knew and trusted, and they said, man, John and Yoko Leonard is in Amsterdam, drugged out in a cave. Well, I didn't know caves is like palaces. So I went over and put them on formula. In 24 hours, they was clean. Now, I didn't know till 10 years later when a professor at San Diego State had the rights from Yoko to do a book on his tapes. And he called me and said, man, I'm reading these tapes. And Yoko and John said, when you came to Amsterdam and cleaned them out, they never went back into drugs again. I said, I didn't know that. I thought they had, you know. And then the last time somebody called me, if you punch up the last book that came out 2 years ago called The Gospel According to the Beatles. And so when this guy bought the tapes, now Lennon been dead 10 years, he said, you know, we're looking through these tapes. And there's an interview somebody was doing with him and asked him when did he, well, how did he get the idea to write Imagine? He said, I didn't. Dick Gregory wrote it. So you see it in there.
Okay, I see the book. You know, Steve Turner.
Just punch in there the what John Lennon said about Dick Gregory and and Imagine. So when the white boy told me that, I said, well, you want to send a plane by the interview? You don't need to send a plane by. If you don't believe that white boy, well, I'm gonna waste my time thinking you're gonna believe me. If he said it, then I'm not gonna talk to you. So then they was getting ready to write it, and he said, well, just can I ask you a question? I said, just get him to black churches and let him listen to the humming and the vibrations and the sounds. And then we wrote it. And I didn't even know it's the #1 selling record in the history of the planet. We sit here now, it sells 2.5 million records a day. So he said about royalties. What royalties? That's my friend. My mama don't get no royalties for cooking or giving me titty milk. You know, that's a game.
Why do you think he died?
Huh?
Why do you think he...
He was killed by the government. The next day at noon, he was going to hold a press conference and give 10% of all his money to the peace movement. And at that time, his money was worth like $200 million. So now he's worth billions.
Oh, I found it. So the quote is, Dick Gregory gave Yoko and me a little kind of prayer book, it is in the Christian idiom, but you can apply it anywhere. There's a concept of positive prayer. If you want to get a car, get the car keys. Get it.
Keys, yeah.
Imagine saying that. If you can imagine a world of peace with no denominations of religion, not without religion, but without this, my God is bigger than your God thing, then it can be true.
It's just like planting corn. If you want some corn, you plant a seed.
All right. So that video was of the late brother Dick Gregory, and I found it on Facebook. I'll have to go back to the source, but if you want it, you can also go on to YouTube and type in Dick Gregory talks about John Lennon, and you can pull the clip up as well. So that's honor and libations to Brother Gregory. Okay, so we will move along unless somebody wanted to put something on it. Okay, we're going to move on. Okay, all right, so I want to get into the topic of follow up with the eclipse, which happened on Monday. I want us to kind of talk about some of the effects that it had. I have a couple clips. Brother Seven Bomar put something on it. Brother O'Shea Kapoor put something on it. But the flip side of it is very, very interesting. I have to give shout out to Sis D, because I don't even know how we got in the conversation. I think she posted something on Facebook about something strange going on with the eclipse, and her and I got into a dialogue because I felt that they had that doggone artificial sun up. Because, all throughout the day before the actual eclipse started, I was monitoring the sun to see if they was going to put the artificial sun up. Now, at sunrise, they didn't have it up. And by the time, we'll say, 9 o'clock-ish, and this is on Eastern time, that's when I had suspicion that they had that artificial sun up. Okay, so now those of us that witnessed the eclipse, what was strange to me, now I remember the solar eclipse. I was a little girl. It was back in 1979. I remember where you could look up in the sky and you could literally see the process of the quote moon. They say the moon, and we're going to talk about that too tonight, coming across the sun, covering up, and you see the blackness of it. This time, you could not see it with the naked eye. You had to put on the damn special glasses to see it. And that just didn't make sense to me. So that even to me brought even more my suspicion that they threw that artificial sun up and the eclipse itself was happening behind that artificial sun. So I'm going to pause. Brother Sean, did you want to put something on it, or you want? Okay, go ahead on, brother.
Yeah, because I've seen quite a few pictures where you can actually see the eclipse taking place and the sun simulator adjacent to it or a bit above it. Also, like you were saying, I mean, we go every day seeing the sun and the moon out together.
Yes.
And on the one day that the moon is allegedly supposed to block the sun, you don't see it at all. I mean, I was watching, waiting to see when you was going to see the moon approach and this, that, or the other. But no, you put on the special 3D glasses and bam, it magically appears. I wish I had made them glasses.
I know, because they made it. They cleaned up quite nicely But, now here's the thing. Remember when we did the show on Saturday with Sis Lioness, and she said that there's a new moon? And I didn't know, one of the sis hit me to it, that when they say it's a new moon,
it don't show up.
Right, it don't show up. Okay, so I thought that's what a sis taught me, because I was like, what the F is the moon one time? And she said, well, sis, you can't see it because it's a new moon. I'm like, okay, so Brother Sean, that made me think about either you or Brother Wendell, I can't remember who said it, that we gonna see, once this eclipse pass, if the moon is out. And if the moon ain't out, we think it's the black sun that crosses over the regular sun. I can't remember which one of y'all said it when we were doing the show on the sun is feminine.
That was me.
Okay, I know one of y'all said it, because you said it could be the black sun, and we said, well, you know what? We finna see, because if that doggone moon don't show up, it ain't what they say. If that moon is not visible in the sky, once that eclipse is over, it ain't what they say it is. So I'm minding my business like I normally do, because that eclipse, although it was an incredible amount of energy, and the eclipse still happened, but they, to me, put that simulator up to try to block out the frequencies. It didn't work, but it just bothered me, because I knew that they were artificially throwing that artificial sun in front of it. Plus, I was thinking about what Brother Wendell said, if you don't see the moon, the eclipse ain't what they say it is. So this one brother posted something on the internet. I had never heard, on Facebook rather, I had never heard of this concept of, it's called, and you all probably heard of it, but it's called, let me get in here, family, I apologize. It's out of the Krishna organization, and it's called the Rahu. So this article is called Solar Eclipse Are Not Caused by the Moon. And this is coming out of the Vedic astronomy. So you're looking at, in India, family, this is like the India astrology, okay, which is one of the oldest. Okay, it says, according to the Vedic astronomy, the most ancient and accurate system of astronomy on the planet, solar eclipses are not caused by the moon coming in front of the sun, as astronomers believe. Rather, the moon is described as being further away than the sun, and what happens at the time of a solar eclipse is the moon goes behind the sun, and a dark planet called Rahu, and it's Rahu, comes between the sun and the earth. Of course, because we have been conditioned to believe as fact the structure of the universe as it has been taught to us since childhood, we find it very difficult to accept such a thing. But it only requires a little thought to see that actually the modern scientific idea is incompatible with our observation, and the timeless Vedic knowledge is compatible with our observation. Look at the moon on a full night. It is shining so brightly that it lights up the whole surface of the earth. On a full moon night, you can very clearly see everything. Of course, it is not as bright as the sunshine, but everything is very clearly visible. And if you were to view the earth from space on the full moon night, it would not be dark. It would be illuminated by the moonshine, and all the features of the earth would be clearly visible. As there is moonshine, there must also be earthshine. Much of the earth is covered by water, which is a good reflector of sunlight. In fact, scientists say Earthshine is much brighter than moonshine. And according to our understanding, the Earth is enormous in comparison to the size of the moon. So if the moonshine can completely illuminate this Earth on a full moon night, then the Earthshine can completely illuminate the moon. The Earthshine bombarding the moon at the time of a total solar eclipse would be almost 50 times brighter than the moonshine on the Earth on a full moon night. If Western astronomers are correct, the solar eclipse would be the perfect time to see the moon illuminated by Earth's shine. The shadow created which causes the solar eclipse on the Earth is, according to NASA, at most 167 miles wide. So if you were sitting on the moon during a solar eclipse, you would see an extremely bright Earth planet with a dark circle of only 167 miles wide. This is not enough to diminish the Earth's shine in any significant way. So even though the sun is behind the moon, the full force of the sunshine is hitting the Earth and reflecting off those shiny blue oceans and reflecting off the land also. So the moon is completely illuminated by Earth's shine, even though the sun is directly behind it. Now, if Western astronomers were correct, if you were in that 167-mile wide path of the total eclipse of the sun, when the sun was completely covered, you would, of course, see the sky become black, and then you could see the stars. But if the sun was covered by the moon, you would be able to see the moon quite clearly in front of the sun, illuminated by Earth's shine. Of course, it would not be bright as the full moon, but the Earth's shine would certainly illuminate the surface of the moon so we could see it and clearly make out the feature on the moon's surface. But this does not happen. During a solar eclipse, the sun goes completely black, and even through the sunlight, during a solar eclipse, the sun goes completely black, and even though the sunlight is blocked out and the sky goes black, one cannot detect the moon at all. It is just black, no moon. Of course, we should be able to see the features on the moon as it is being bathed in the brilliant Earth shine. The sun should disappear, and we should see the stars, and in the place of the sun, we should see the moon illuminated by Earth's shine. But this we don't see. So what does this mean? It means it is not the moon causing the solar eclipses. We know from the Vedas that what causes solar eclipse is a dark planet, currently unknown in the Western world, which hides in the shadow of the moon. Rahu is relatively close to us, around about the same distance as we think the moon is, but it is completely black. It does not reflect light at all. So even though there is plenty of earth shines falling on Rahu, because it is a black planet, none of that light will be reflected back. So we will see the sun simply blacked out in the sky on a full eclipse, which is what we do see. So this is absolute proof that the assumption of Western astronomers that solar eclipses are caused by the moon coming between the earth and the sun is wrong. Because if that was the case, we would be able to see the moon during the full eclipse of the sun as it would be bathed in bright earth shine. So again, that article is coming off of the Krishna.org site. So I'll pause and let the family put something on it, and then we're going to a couple of more points on the eclipse before we get into fairy tales in the spirit world, the main topic.
Well, I just wanted to say, I took a picture of the moon, like on the 18th in the morning, about 6 in the morning. It was a crescent moon. And it was really shiny. I mean, bright white. And so I thought it was very strange that all of a sudden we get this big black moon. And the commentators were saying that the moon was turned. The side that we normally see with, like, the man on the moon face was turned towards the. But it just didn't compute. Not only that, the facts that it was at the 33rd parallel, at the 33rd state, you know, and when the next eclipse happened. Let me before I go further. Now, the crescent moon is not supposed to happen until, according to the Hebrew calendar, I think this one was the 18th when I took it. It's not supposed to happen on the 22nd, which was yesterday or day before. So I'm like, why is there a crescent? Because, you know, in Judaism, you pay attention to the moon. So, right. I'm like, why is there a crescent moon and it's not supposed to on the 18th and it's not supposed to happen until the 22nd because I have the calendar on it. And then when you get to the 2024, when it's supposed to have the other eclipse, it is going to make an X across. And that X is the same X that's on the Confederate flag. So I said, And this moon, and I was just thinking it was a mechanical thing they did, because those states that it hit were all slave states. And those slave states were the Trail of Tears, where they marched us and slaughtered us and gave us all the boxes and that kind of mess. So that was the Trail of Tears. And I think the next one coming up is the Chisholm Trail, because I think the Chisholm Trail ran from Dallas up to Maine and stuff like that. But so they're trying to give a message with this. It's a message about the fact that maybe Obadiah is coming up, where the South and the North are going to be fighting each other. And then we get this Charlottesville crud going on. And the races and the statues are coming down and all this kind of stuff. So that eclipse and that energy was manipulated, manufactured, or is some serious metaphysics going on with that thing, I think.
Interesting. Brother Wendell or Brother Sean, you all have anything you want to put on that?
Yeah. I got out there and took about 4 or 5 pictures of it while it was going down. And I come out the next morning and took pictures of the sun and compared them. They were exactly alike.
Okay, so say that again.
When I took the pictures of the eclipse, what came out in the picture was a star with 4 points making a tight X.
Right, like a wing. Like a winged disc, yeah.
It was like a tight X. Not on one side. It's like 2 lines going through it, but it made a tight X, if you can picture that. The next morning, I took a few shots of the sun to compare them, and they were the exact same thing. Now that one, somebody got to explain.
Did it have a dot in the middle of it?
It had a little dot in the middle, but it was not a black dot. It was all one circle, the same color. Because I even on one of the shots of the sun, I zoomed it in, and it was the same thing on the other pictures. I was like, why is that eclipse looking exactly like the sun the next day? That was weird. And in one of my shots, I zoomed in a little bit, and you could see at the where the X is on if you picture in your mind on the northwest side of the little circle, there was like a little teal green or green, like a quarter moon right there.
Yeah. A lot of people that took pictures, because Brother Sean, you and I was going back and forth on the picture. I think Sis Corley's grandbaby took.
Right.
With those, and I was like, that's a flare. But I'm like, but wait a minute, the flare ain't matching what they said. So, yeah, Brother Wendell, a lot of people had that in the exact same spot you had. And see, this is the messed up part about it. Some had it in the exact same spot where you just named. I see it with my mind clear as day. You did an excellent job describing it. Some had it on the opposite side, and that could have been where they were located. Some had it on the damn bottom, on the bottom right-hand side. Some on the left right-hand side. Some even further out. It was just crazy. It was all over the place.
Yeah, I've seen video where the damn sun just went completely out and came back on.
Yeah, I saw that too, which that clearly means, now this just Rhonda's little one sent to me, that was that damn sun simulator that they had up there. That was the sun simulator, and I think what they tried to do, and I got to send a shout out to Sis D, because she was the one, her and I were kind of talking back and forth, and she posted a video where the buzzards had invented technology to simulate an eclipse. Okay? So I think what they stank asses did was tested it out as the true eclipse was still happening behind the scenes. So that's why you seen the picture where the sun just disappeared for like a second and then came back. I'm like, what the F? So to me, that was them calling themselves doing their own eclipse. But I think behind that was where the real eclipse was going on. I'm sorry, go ahead.
Now, I also ran across a video where there was a still shot of Rihanna doing a performance, and they had lighting that was shining from two sides, and it made an eclipse.
Okay, so they was trying to be funny, in other words. Yeah, they was trying to be funny. So let me see. I know I pulled that video of this. Hopefully I uploaded it. Hopefully I did. If not, I'm sorry. Go ahead on, brother, while I'm looking for the video. Go ahead.
That Charlottesville thing, I mean, that really wasn't about us. And the eclipse, that was a time of changing of the guard, because it's what Nat Turner followed after. But we set up and let George Soros interject us into that. That was a thing between Caucasians.
Interesting.
I mean, and then we just decided that we just got to be a part of everything. They were fighting amongst each other. I mean, I don't see why we haven't learned from them. How do you think they got a foothold in on us? We was fighting each other. They sat back and watched and took advantage. But this time and this energy is when we were supposed to have been focused on us and not all this other BS.
Right. Which, with all of that said, what they tried to pull, and for whatever reason that they tried to do it, at the end of the day, I feel that majority of us that study this information, we definitely was hands down doing what we needed to do to create the world that we want to be in and to take ownership as the changing of the guards happen. So my point of bringing this up is to show that although they did have artificial stuff going on, and good point, Brother Sean, that was their particular bull S, the so-called, quote, ruling elite, that was their fake shit that they had going on. But the real power changing of the guards definitely still took place, hands down. No doubt about it, it still happened. And even with all of the them putting out the false flags of that Charlottesville stuff, it was twofold. And I said this last week. Yeah, they put it out as a false flag, but also they were giving indication to their people that study occult symbolism that the changing of the guard is taking effect, whether they want it to or not.
Exactly.
So it don't matter how many MF and artificial suns they put up, none of that shit. It doesn't matter. They know that symbolizes that the energy has shifted. They already know that. So, but I did want the family to be aware of the trickery with them putting on their own simulated eclipse. But the true eclipse still had the very powerful impact. It most absolutely certainly did. So now another thing with the Rahu, it's another article real quick. This is interesting because that particular planet, I so happen to think it's a black sun, because you can also think of the sun as a planet, the moon as a planet. They're energy centers at the end of the day. But this article talks about how that the Rahu rulership is the sign of Aquarius. And then they, of course, talks about, this is out of the Vedic astrology. Now, this is the tripped out. Sorry, go ahead on, brother.
Look at the name, Ra and Hugh.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. Black sun. I agree. I think it's the black sun. And damn good call, Brother Wendell. You had our asses on alert. Because I'm going to tell you, I got up fresh in the morning like, yeah, I'm documenting this sky. It's on today. So a damn good call. Damn good call on that. And great job to the family. You all put it down. I definitely felt the energy. People were on their stuff, creating the world that they wanted with the manifestations, with their thoughts. That's a good thing. Now, check this out, what Rahu means. It's going to blow y'all wig back. Rahu has a nature very similar to that of Saturn. So it can rule either Capricorn or Aquarius. But since it is airy in temperature and is a mystical planet, it automatically qualifies for the co-rulership of Aquarius. According to ancient Indian mythology, Lord Shiva, the god of destruction and one of the Trinity, is supposed to preside over the sign Aquarius. He is blue in color, has matted locks with holy water flowing from them, wears a snake around his neck, is unmindful of his appearance, and roams around the snow-filled mountain. So it is not hard to see the obvious connection between his physical and mental attributes of those of Aquarius. He has blue color. Aquarius is the sign associated with blue color in both Vedic and Western astrology. So when we think of the color blue, we should also be thinking of what? That third eye. Okay, so he is unmindful of his appearance. Okay, I said that. I'll say it again. He is unmindful of his appearance and has matted locks. Aquarius is the most aesthetic among the signs, and people with Aquarius strong or Aquarius rising are the least mindful about their looks. Roaming around the snow-filled mountain shows the aesthetic nature of Shiva, which is the very nature of Aquarius. Pisces, the last sign in the zodiac, is the sign ruling complete wisdom and liberation. Now, true wisdom and liberation are only possible after the renunification of the material world. Aquarius is the sign preceding Pisces, and thus the rules of the penultimate stage in the journey of man towards liberation. So I'm going to stop there. I'm going to keep going, but I want to make a point. Aquarius is the sign preceding Pisces. What is the sign of Jesus Christ? Pisces. Exactly. Pisces, right?
That's the age of the church.
Exactly. That's the age of the church. That is why we keep screaming week after week after week after week after week after week after week. There is no Messiah. That's dead end.
Yeah.
That's the age of Pisces. That shit is gone. Okay? You are liberated. That's when the veil was over you. You're liberated from that spell. Okay. Now the question arises. What connection does the snake representing the serpent power have with Aquarius? That's where Rahu comes into the picture. The knowledge and wisdom associated with Aquarius are not attained until one masters the Kundalini Shakti, the coiled serpent power, which resides in every human being at the sacrum bone at the base of the spine. So in other words, we've been talking about this week after week after week after week. Balancing your Kundalini energy, raising your Kundalini from the base of the spine, the root chakra, all the way up to the crown chakra, okay, to reach and operate in the higher realm. Among the planets, Rahu represents the serpent power. Rahu also presides over the color blue, that's that pineal gland, signifying Aquarius. Mercury, and remember, Sis Lioness on Saturday said we're also in Mercury retrograde. Mercury and Rahu also have a close relationship. And Rahu is assigned the part rulership of Virgo in various texts of the Vedic astrology. Rahu represents the deeper and sometimes dark side of the intellect, which is ordinarily governed by Mercury. Both are planets of knowledge. With Rahu ruling over the intuitive knowledge, Rahu is often the force behind a genius who turns to criminal ways, as it is responsible for the perversion of the intellect. Rahu is a trickster in the same way as Mercury is, but is usually more magical in its approach and dangerous in its intentions. Okay, so in other words, as we've talked week after week after week after week, energy is energy is energy. It's how you want to process and use it, okay? So that's what they mean about using it in a dangerous way. Okay, in fact, Mercury also has some bit of Rahu in it, even when it is not connecting with Rahu in a particular nativity or birth chart. The ancient Indian mythological deity ruling Mercury is Lord Vishnu, one of the Trinity with the function of preservation. He is always seated on a serpent, which separates him from the ocean of illusion, the phenomenal world. This points towards the close association between Mercury and Rahu, as well as the fact that one cannot transcend the material realm without mastering the forces of illusion, fears, and temptation that Rahu seems to represent. Thus, though many other viewpoints exist, it will be very safe to say that Rahu is the co-ruler of Aquarius and Virgo, as per Vedic astrology. It is exalted in Scorpio and also believed well in Virgo, Cancer, and Sagittarius, though this is a guideline and is not to be applied blindly. It is very difficult to predict whether Rahu will work on its higher principle, true knowledge, or its lower principle, illusionary power, in a particular nativity. Much depends on the overall spiritual advancement of a soul, because Rahu is the planet that separates the sages from ordinary mortals. So once again, this energy is definitely here, but depends on how, number one, you use it / process it, and where you are from a spiritual perspective. So that is why we have continuously been talking about balancing out your chakra system, and in particularly getting past your heart chakra, which is the fourth dimension, to access the higher levels. Okay. Sis, go ahead, sis.
What we're probably witnessing with this fake sun and the fake moon and all this kind of stuff is the Custard's Last Stand kind of thing, because they start tying in the 33, which is Jesus' age at his death and all this kind of stuff. Went extremely religious on this, and it's tied in blood moons and the 577s going out and the third of Revelation coming in on the 12th of Revelation coming in on the 23rd and all this kind of stuff. So this is the Pisces people's last stand, and they're emulating and simulating all these things to try to get all the souls or people back down on the third D to stay here.
Absolutely. You've knocked it out the so-and-so park.
Yeah, I'm sorry to interrupt you, but, it's just they're trying to trick the people.
Yes.
And believing the Messiah complex, as we said earlier, is Custard's Last Stand.
Yes.
And for the people who have come out of the flesh, the Kundalini part, the root chakra, and they're going to the crown chakra, they won't be falling for this kind of stuff.
Sure won't fall for the okie doke. Absolutely. And we're going to, Brother Seven put out a video the day of the eclipse, and he literally titled it Changing of the Guards. And he's going to get into exactly what you said, sis, because this particular time is, are you going to get yourself locked in another contract, spiritual contract? Or are you going to be the God and govern yourself that you truly are? So I'm going to play that clip. I'm going to finish this up because this is a powerful article, and then we're going to get into that. All right.
Hold up, that's because
I'm sorry. Go ahead on, brother. Go ahead.
I found the part interesting when you was saying that Rahu is a jokester.
Ooh, damn.
Dick Gregory and Jerry Lewis. That's the balance right there.
And Trump card.
And Trump card, yeah.
I mean, Dick Gregory was on the spiritual thing, and Jerry Lewis, I guess we can say, he was quote unquote the darker side. I mean, balance. I mean, it was taken from both spectrums.
Trump made sure that everybody knew he's standing out there watching it. So
that wasn't that interesting because I fell out laughing because I'm like, now they gonna tell you not to look up at it, but Trump card show looked up at it. You know, I was falling all over laughing, and they're like, oh, he's so dumb. I'm like, no, y'all so dumb for believing what the F they told you. He's putting it in your face that they were lying.
But see, that's also where, as far as with the sun simulator, how they said that it was a carbon neutral energy.
Ooh,
and then putting on the glasses. I mean, how many people did that actually block from receiving?
Absolutely. Now, of course, those of us that knew that this particular cosmic event was bringing through the necessary energies for prime time or prime energy for you to manifest, we got it on and did what we needed to do. But you're absolutely right, Brother Sean, for those unknowing, and that, I mean, let me tell y'all how deep it was. We were outside a group of us, and, you know, they were like, oh, you know, here's the glasses, because, again, you couldn't see it with the naked eye. So I'm looking up at the sun/simulator, looking all around, and everybody, oh, no, don't look at it. And this guy's mouth just dropped open, like, how the F are you able to look at that? It was me and an Indian girl. We looking up at it like, whatever. So that's how much brainwashed people were. They were like, oh, you know, you're going to hurt your eyes, blah, 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 blah. And some of them caught that me and the Indian girl were looking up at it on and off. And they like had their mouth open like, how were they able to do that? That's how deep the programming runs, family. Which, you know, it still blows my mind. Okay, where are we at? Let me
say something.
Go ahead on, brother.
Keep your eyes peeled for updates on the earthquake that happened right after that whole thing. There was an earthquake over in Italy right after that. And there was also a hurricane off the coast of South Carolina when that thing reached South Carolina.
Yeah, because that was the end of it, wasn't it? Didn't it trail off at the end of South Carolina?
Yeah, but why was the hurricane sitting out there on the water at that particular time? And then at the same time, an earthquake happened over in Italy. It did a lot of damage. Too.
Interesting. And just the point of South Carolina, we know, South Carolina, North Carolina, which it was really one at one time, a lot from the indigenous melanated folks. It's a lot of history there. Well, on that coastline, period.
Yeah.
So that's interesting that you say that.
Yeah, as a matter of fact, at one time the whole East Coast was part of Florida.
Yes, absolutely. And isn't that where Atlantis is said to have been right off the coast of that eastern board, that southern eastern board? So that's no accident that that particular hurricane was, quote, quote, gathered there. So that's interesting. Yeah. I'm going to have to look that up.
Yeah, and what's going on right about now is everybody trying to figure out what in the hell was that. That's what everybody's trying to figure out.
Wow. Okay, so let me finish this up. Where are we at? Because it's really a good article, and we only have a couple more sentences. It is very difficult to predict whether Rahu will work on its higher principle, true knowledge, or its lower principle, illusionary power in a particular nativity. Much depends on the overall spiritual advancement of a soul, because Rahu is the planet that separates the sages from the ordinary mortals. Since Vedic astrology does not use outer planets, now I learned something new, I didn't know that, their attributes are usually assigned the nodes of Rahu and Ketu. Rahu is the sort of Uranus, Neptune, and Pluto combined together. It is supposed to combine the shocking revolutionary power of Uranus with the almost hallucinatory and sensitizing influence of Neptune. It also covers the dark underworld side of Pluto. So hopefully we're starting to enter and understand how powerful that black sun Rahu is. Okay. It is supposed to be it is supposed to be the planet of inspiration, giving rise to sudden invention and discoveries. Rahu is thus the planet which has made its influence felt strongly in the 20th century. Also in Western astrology, Rahu's influence is seen to be equivalent to Jupiter and Venus combined, and is often correlated with Jupiter as a point of easy expansion of energy, leadership, potential, and good luck. It is seen to improve the results of the house in which it is placed. But this, though not entirely false, is not a true picture of Rahu. Rahu can behave in a positive Jupiterian manner only under certain conditions. This happens only when it is placed in strong houses like the 1st, 9th, and 10th, and aspects or it's conjunct with the important planets in that particular chart. It also helps if Rahu is in its own sign, exalting signs of the signs it is comfortable in. Rahu has an expansive nature, but at the same time, it can be distinguishing rather than a creative influence if these conditions are not satisfied. So in other words, after all that back and forth, up and down, round the block shit, basically, because it is, to me, pure melanin, pure melanin black sun, it is a very powerful energy source. So you can pretty much use that energy source whatever way you see fit. So that is what they're talking about, that it could be used in conjunction with this planet. It can be used in this house and that house. That's really what they're saying. You can harness that energy from the black sun, Rahu, in whatever fashion that you feel fit. Rahu is capable of giving highly malefic results, especially when placed in the malefic houses and aspecting or conjunct with planets in a particular nativity. Uranus is supposed to be the co-ruler of Aquarius in Western astrology. It is considered the planet governing the new developments in electronics, space, and atomic research. In Vedic astrology, Rahu has been seen to be the signifier of electricity in all forms, lightning, etc., and thus responsible for these advances. Rahu and Uranus have a lot in common, but Rahu behaves in a totally Uranus way in a nativity only when it is strongly related to Uranus by aspect of conjunction. Okay, let me see. I'm trying to see. I'm just going to skip to the end. Whether this power will be used destructively or constructively depends on the factors in the chart. So it is clear that Rahu is deeply influenced by the planets it is relative within the nativity. This characteristic of Rahu is similar to that of Mercury. Okay, so this article is off of OSFA, Orion School and Foundation for Astrology.org. Okay, so I'll pause in case one of the family wants to put something on it. If not, we're going to jump into the spiritual aspect of the eclipse.
We can keep it moving.
Okay, so what is that sound? What the hell? Somebody's dog?
No,
okay.
That's a zip. I'm zipping up a briefcase.
Oh, okay. I'm like, what the hell? I'm like, what's wrong with that dog?
I thought I was just hearing things.
Oh, boy. Okay, family. So Brother 7 knocked it out the park. His video, now he put this video on Facebook, but I think he since uploaded it to YouTube. It's called The Change of the Guard Day. The Change of the Guards Day of the Joker. Okay, so it's not that long, but the brother breaks it down, sis, and he's going to go into what you were talking about, the Pisces age and the religion. And so let me just shut up and play it. Let me find it first. Oh, okay, where we at? Blah, 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 blah. We got so many videos. Okay, this one is kind of long. It's 24 minutes, but I guarantee you, it's going to blow your wig back. It's going to tell you from a spiritual component how powerful the eclipse was. We talked about this Saturday on the show, but he also brings in more specific components from the religious aspect. So here we go. This is Brother 7 Bomar, the change of the guards, Day of the Joker.
All right. It's on. Silence some of these devices around here. I'm going to give it a moment. We're going to let it buffer. Let it breathe. And this is Maximum Awareness Day. So, you made it. You made it. It is now a Solar Eclipse 2017 day. The change of guard. And I'm just bringing it in because it's a powerful day. And so, let me just explain it. There are two cameras here. There's a live camera, and then there's a camera that I use to back up everything, and I need to be looking at that camera. So if I'm not looking at you, it's because I'm looking at that camera so you can have a great backup. Wow. Where do I even begin? I mean, that's the real question. Where do I even begin? Because I don't. We don't have a beginning. We don't have an end. We've created one, though. And that creation of the beginning and the end is called time. So I'm going to show you something unique. I'm going to show you exactly how to become weightless, meaning no longer will you be waiting on anything because there'll be no such thing as time. It'll be the gateway to instant manifestation and actually the bridge to when the first human physically flies here because they realize how to become weightless through this knowledge. So here we go. First and foremost, today is actually known as the change of guard. Like I've been looking at some YouTube videos. Mainly today, I just checked and see, okay, so what's really out there? Because I don't fill my head with prophets and prophecies and all that kind of stuff. That's basically expecting something to happen, and then the anxiety of when that date starts drawing close, right? And that anxiety, it produces a weight in itself. It's how we can create weight in our mind. Like, have you ever been closer and closer to some kind of bill that's due or whatever, and then as you get closer, it just starts to weigh on you more and more and more, and its weight increases, meaning its value, per se, increases with you. So this will show you how weight and time are relative. But first, before we get into that, I'm going to demystify this entire thing around this eclipse. Now, first of all, this is also, yesterday is known as the Day of the Joker, or the Day of the Jester. And it's because when you see the king, right, which is what the sun is proclaiming that it is on this dimension. It's external though. There's the internal sun, there's the external one. So the external one is known as that old king. Okay? And that external sun always has before it the jesters, or the jacks, or the jokers. Okay? And that's just like you see it in the movies where they show the king and the jester, or the juggler is right there in front of him. So if you notice that yesterday we lost some jesters on the dimension because they came in front of the king. And I'll explain that. And that's, of course, Jerry Lewis. And, of course, the Honorable Dick Gregory. Okay? So let me just demystify this once again before we get, too far ahead. I know some people got to go to work and they got this time issue. See, where I'm at today is I'm showing you how to demystify time so you can get your time back, so you can get completely off the time system, out of the zodiac, and then into even beyond what can be conceived in this language. That's what we're talking about right now. This is the power day for you, nothing else. So, you have to ask yourself, how do you synchronize time? Like if I tell you, yeah, there's a galactic clock, there's a circadian rhythm, there's all these different clocks, and let's say you even have a watch piece. Right? Like a really nice watch piece. That's your body. But how do you synchronize your body, your watch piece, to the whole system so that you know what time it is? The only way, let's say, if you lost an idea of what that time was, because, see, we're so skeptic. So when somebody says, oh, every Bach ton is 26,000, blah, blah, blah years, and, we can hear all that knowledge, but then we're so skeptical because we've been abused by the Matrix and its lies. We're like, well, how can I believe in that? And then Flat Earth goes another wrench in there and says, well, if it's flat, all this stuff is off. So how can you synchronize yourself with what time it truly is? And how you can do that is by watching. Just like it says, surely if you can watch the sky and know that it's raining, that it's going to rain, why can't you predict the future? Why can't we watch the realm to see what exactly is going on than trying to read it in a book somewhere? And that's what I do. I just wait. There's no, like some people, they say, I got to put a recording now. And it's like, you see what's happening on YouTube with all these different, trying to grab that keyword. And but, when you got to sit back and think about it, or maybe you don't. Maybe you tap into your all-knowing and you watch. And then when you're tapped in and you learn certain knowledge about things, the blueprint of the mechanics, which we teach in the university, this taps you into realizing what exactly is going on. So let me demystify it a little bit more. So this is the arcana. Let me grab my stylus here and show you a couple things. So I got to write small here because there's going to be a lot on this board. So this is called arcana. Okay? And the word that we see here is arc. And we talked about those arcs the last time we got on to this. And so to go further, because that's what actually creates the units of time, what you actually have to ask yourself is, so this arcana also means the secret or hidden. So it means that even the knowledge we talked about yesterday or the day before, it's secret and hidden. Remember, I have no concept of time, by the way. And so this secret or hidden arcana, what is it anyway? And a part of it is actually the zodiac. Okay? And this word actually comes from the priests of Zod, which were also known as the priests of Sod. And if you kind of like even look up the group that is that name, you get an idea of what eventually that whole system degraded into. So in this, because they attempted to reinvent the wheel, but this system, let's say for instance, this is a system of a 12-cycle zodiac. Okay? So this zodiac that we're dealing with right now, that most people believe it is on a system of 12, which is based on the month, okay? But where all this knowledge comes from is, let's say, for instance, when I guess the beings that are on Earth decided they wanted to start reading, the first people to actually begin to write down things, one of those groups, because there was a 7-spectrum first going on. That's why nobody can figure out who came first. One of the still the documentations that we have is actually Sumerian. The Sumerian documentation, okay? And in the Sumerian documentation, they're basically hiding a code also. Everything has always been mystical and encoded that's around the king. And their king was known as Anu. Okay? Now, in a cycle then, one Anu is basically one turn of the disk. Okay? So this is Anu is actually where we get our word annual, which means 1 year. Okay? So this is the system of time, and this is actually where it comes from. And if you notice, the Sumerians actually named their gods after numbers. There's 50, who's actually running around the dimension right now, half nuts like Wild Marduk, and still can't figure out how to control all that energy. Every single entity from the Sumerian pantheon is actually running around the planet right now. And their king, who knows what their king is up to? Last time I checked, they subdued their own king. So in this entire cycle, this Anu, okay, this was known as the wheel, okay? Now the Sumerians, they have different wheels. That's why when you see Marduk, and he has all of these different stars encrusted inside of his body because those are the wheels of times or the cycles. Now this knowledge that I'm talking to you about is known as the Cabal. That's why also it means hidden. Okay? So this cabal is actually a cognate of the word cable, which everyone is familiar with, I would assume. And a cable is, of course, this. The beginning should connect to the end on the cable. And this is the secret cabal. Okay? Now, this is known as a wheel because these wheels are also known as discs. Okay? And it's because the ancient knowledge reveals that in the sky, the stars actually were an encoded disk. So just as your mind can be affected by sun and moon, so too there are other things that you can be affected by if just based on your own resonance. And you can learn how to tune your vehicle properly so that way you don't actually really get too much influence and things that actually take you off your path or off your own wheel, okay? Because this secret system is kept secret for a reason with the priests of Sod, because they are controlling time with concepts, okay? And as long as those concepts are mystical to everyone, and it's like a mist and people can't see it, they can't get through that fog. And that fog is actually the space between life and death. Like when something dies, where it goes, what's in between there is like the cartilage on your fingers and like a vaporous fog that you can walk into but seem to can't penetrate. And this is exactly how you will penetrate, is by knowing the code. To code to this mainframe is a 26-letter code. We're talking about the English language. A 26-letter code. But any time we see numbers like this, simple math right away goes 52. Because that's the number when it reaches its perfection, and that's an entirely different class. But the number when it reaches its perfection is 52, so this gives us some kind of gauge to what kind of system we're talking about here when we're talking about the language known as English, because it would be a code, and a lot of people will be programmed with that code. They say when every knee shall bow and every tongue shall confess is when everyone in the entire universe knows English, or the entire world knows English. Because the God lives inside of the language. The king lives inside of the language, right? So how this language became Kabbalistic, it's basically English. It's the language of the angels. So this English, first of all, the hidden part is another 26. So you get 26 letters, right? A to Z. And then there's another 26, and we know that because this word 52 actually gives us how many weeks there are in a year. Okay? And the reason why this is important is because this would be the Anu. This would be the God of English, is this code of 52. Okay? So now what happens is that this 52 weeks in a year is very connected to what we know as this tarot. Okay, because this is the English tarot. Now this tarot also gives us the word, the cognate of the word rota, which is what you see in the occult books, rota, which is where we get our word rotate. Okay, so we know that we're talking about a wheel, because the wheel rotates. So tarot is known to be a hidden system of changes, but it's also a code that actually can be changed. Like sometimes they say, hey, don't reinvent the wheel. Well, the beings that developed this system actually attempted to reinvent the wheel, and it's broken. It's broken because most people only have half of it, and that would look like this, right? So if the cobble is complete like this, and it's only half, you have this. This is a letter, and it's a D, right? So now we start realizing why the word divided, diablo, destruction, deceitful, all those words begin with D, because when something is only aware of half of what it is, it starts to live in an illusion of what it truly is, and that's what comes from it. That's why I say, look what God had wrought, meaning look what you have created in this deceit. You see what I mean? Beings that know how to create and not being aware of the other half. This becomes synonymous with why we can't see the other half of the moon. That is the cabal. Okay? So to move on here, because I'm just giving you a real, for those who study and for those who need to study, you can just go check in on this and be like, there's no doubt. These are clear proof. It's, as my shirt says, it's common sense. But common sense ain't common. So now let's talk about what exactly is happening in the world and your empowerment. Today is the day of empowerment for you, because this is not also like, it's not just today. There's been a lot that's been building up to today. In your own innerverse, there is something that's been going on, and you've been occultated. You've been learning different things. You've been having these different experiences. Some been going on certain substances, some been fasting, cleansing, meditating. So all this has been going on. So there's an invisible college that's been dealing with everyone. And in that, you get to this point where you realize, okay, I do have power, but what shall I do? How can I control it? So there's a lot of questions after that, and that's what we call the quest. We've ended the quest at Secret Energy. There's no more of, hey, let me just download information, We're uploaders. And we have the knowledge and the wisdom and the experience to keep pushing with that. But these clear proofs, I believe, are important, because then people can authenticate for themselves as if we don't need some heavy level of someone that is here to assist us, multiple beings assisting us. Sometimes we doubt that. But let me take a minute, let me look at my camera and make sure we're still rolling. Is everything rolling? Okay, let's keep going here. So to understand this solar eclipse, what's happening is that it is the procession in the death of the king. Okay? It's called the change of guard. It's when the old system as it is goes out, and then the new system comes in. It would be like our presidency, but that's all that's on their days. This is the galactic one. And in the change of guard, it's the perfect time for the complete rewriting of all the treaties. And what sovereigns do, this is the day where you don't go into worshiping and praying and calling upon other gods and other things, because then that's going to connect you right again with that until the next cycle, right? This is the time that you now can become truly sovereign within yourself by knowing today that you're basically the ruler of your own throne, the Lord of your own life, the master of your completion, and that there is nothing that you bow down to, and there are no gods before you. Okay? So this is the day for that. And let's get into this a little bit deeper on how we know. So we know that according to, again, it's not according to Navajo had all the knowledge. There's so many tribes. The Mamis, the Taitas, the Aztecs, and the knowledge they left. They all talk about these days extensively. And even if you went to archive.org and started just typing in to look for that knowledge, you will find it right there. It's lack of knowledge why we perish. It's not because you just got to wait for somebody to come in and bring the knowledge to you. Maybe you're the one to bring the knowledge to everyone else. But I will tell you that it is all there. And in that, it talks about this process of the exchange. Now, Saturn was the previous sun, but we don't know how many sun cycles have already gone by. There was another total solar eclipse in 1979 that went across the United States. This one that's coming across is starting on the 33rd parallel. How you know, which is in Oregon, Salem. How you know it has to do with the king is because Melchizedek is the king of Salem. And the Melchizedek reign, which is basically the whole, the Jesus and all the external entities that the entire pantheon that has been bringing forth all of what it's been doing right now, for better or for worse, they are now going out, and something new is coming in. I'm telling you, that new can be you. Completely right now, this is how you could become weightless. If you get back under the reign of the kings and the sun systems, then you feel, they're saying basically, I need to take in this light. You have your own light that burns within. And that light people need the most. Like our children, everyone is a child based on their vibration and frequency. If a person's a child, it's a vibration and a frequency. If a person's wise, it's a vibration and frequency. So to restore that entire harmonic system, we are the ones accountable for doing that. And to do that, you need power. And this power is vivid. The body is electric. And this power, you'll feel coursing through you, and you know that this power is going into your manifestation. And so this is not just a belief. The mind and its thoughts are still weak. They need to be grounded, and they need to be firm and into a firm vibration. But anyway, let's keep going. What we're talking about is the moving out of the old king. So how this works is, if you look at Wikipedia and you look up where did the Joker card come from, you'll find that, of course, in tarot, the 0 card is the Fool, right? And that's the beginning of the tarot. Now, this Fool card is also known as the beginning and the end. So when you see that, it's like that same saying. They say, at the end of the game, the king and the pawn go back in the same box. Okay? So they're just saying, when you see the disc completely turn one time, you'll see the king and the pawn actually go back into that same cycle and curl up. And then at that time, you make your massive awakening, escape, whatever you want to call it, into yourself and keep boosting. So today is not meant to be a very long conversation. I'm just here to tell you to really get control of yourself now. Like I said, it's not just about today. It's what also everything has been building up to at this point. Know that that's why it's also a new moon. Those kind of alignments are indeed serious, because the eclipse didn't necessarily last time fall on the full moon. It actually fell on, I think it was half moon. So even for all these things to be lined up, if you're synchronizing your clock, it is rather important. And then if you pay attention, like between last year, for the last 3 years, a lot of the days, the synchronistic days, like the 777, the 888, all those, they just kept rolling and rolling and rolling, like Friday the 13th happening like 6 or 7 times. This is because you're looking at a massive clock that people have been missing half of. Let's just face it, like most people only want to hear the good side of everything, and then, so they're not seeing the bad side of things, but then they're not seeing the bad side of themselves. Or some people just want to focus on the bad side and never see the good side, and then even beyond that, getting to the point of where the whole bad and good thing, you cease to play that game. Judging yourself and judging others. If you get into the center of yourself, and you come right back to the throne and you rule your world. When you see the world in chaos, that means because this world is in chaos. And we all deal with it. But to truly do something about this and to totally activate into your potential, it actually means that you have to center this within yourself. And you're going to need that power. So you can't be delegating this power. It's like tubes coming from us, all these things that we place belief in and place value in and given weight. God is the biggest lodestone around most people's heads because it has so much weight it sits on top of them. And they still haven't recognized that not only are ye gods, but greater. So that's why it doesn't matter like to always have these diverse conversations of different sorts every time if everyone doesn't realize just what I'm saying right now, the main principle. You can do more than this yourself. But every time you go out and you broker with the banksters, the galactic brokers, I call them, that's where the energy is leaking out at. And when you get that energy, you're more than capable of doing this yourself. But just remember about weight and weightlessness, how to get yourself in tune with yourself, how to get that old king off your back, and how to become the true solar being. This is man and woman alike. The true solar being for all of those that are on the planetary system and beyond. So, I want to say wholeness and balanced vibration. Some people would ask me, okay, well, what do I do today? You should be already doing. Celebrate you. This is the celebration of self. Get with others. All is self. But see if, that attunement, bring that attunement. Some people ask me, should I look at it? Well, most people in the conscious community have spent at least enough of their time looking straight at the sun for prolonged periods in the sun gazing. So I don't even know why they would need my permission to actually sun gaze. The truth is also what we think in our mind about things, that's what we amplify. This is a very basic system when it comes down to it. Anytime you receive any power or any energy, because there is power and energy coming off of these bodies, then you can always channel that energy as you wish. And that's all I'll say. Channel it as you wish. Balance yourself. Stay harmonic. Realize the time that we're actually living in. Get involved. If you need more of this knowledge and education, if this went over your head, some of the stuff you saw didn't actually connect, other stuff didn't make so much sense, check out the university. If you're looking to keep expanding, you're trying to lift the money monster off you and you need some assistance, check out spirittech.com. Link here in the description. If this is your first time listening, definitely subscribe. We get into it. It's about to be 2018. It sounds like a movie from the future. 2018. I mean, come on. Let's get to this already. We have the ability. As you see, I'm equipping. We're manufacturing. We're doing some things in Secret Energy Wholeness.
All right, family.
All right.
Okay, let me stop that. Okay, all right, family. So that was from Brother Seven Bomar. It's called, and I think he put this out on YouTube. I snagged it live off of Facebook, but it's called The Change of the Guards, Day of the Joker. Okay, I'll pause in case the family want to put something on it. He brought that shit. I ain't gonna lie.
Yeah, he did. Yeah, he did. What I found interesting was we've been saying it all along about entering into contracts.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he broke it down from the spiritual level and even mentioned about the banksters. I mean, all these people worried about these PDA accounts and people following these false prophets that are promising them billions of dollars and all this stuff. I mean, it's a trap. You already know that this so-called fiat currency, fiat money, is not real, that you're the real currency.
Right.
And you still worried about 3D currency.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, like you said, this was the time for us to completely remove ourselves from the system.
Right.
Their legalities are no longer going to pass as laws. Their statutes are no longer going to be laws. I mean, you could also look at that Charlottesville thing. All this talk about removing the statues.
There you go. Statues. Damn, that's deep. Damn, that's deep, Brother Sean.
I mean, but
very, very good.
We've been telling people this all along, and as time goes by, more and more people come forward and confirm it. But family, we've been telling y'all. I mean, obviously, y'all need to hear it from other people, so we'll do that.
Oh, boy. I mean, for me, and you're right, Brother Sean, we've been saying that, you know, consistently for quite some time. But, you know, once again, you know, it is extremely important if you say that, you know, you want change, the most important step is to realize only you can make that change.
Right.
You have everything within you to make that change. Okay? Because you are the God. You always have been, always will be. But you have allowed someone else to cipher off of your power and enter into contracts with them. Now, whether that be on the physical level, that's obvious to enter and understand that. But the trick of the matter is, the reason that, you know, we were under this system of statutes and codes was because in the spiritual realm, because remember, everything happens in the spiritual realm first. Then it translates into the physical, okay? So the reason that we were under statutes and codes, because we gave over our power,
right,
our godhood, under other systems of religion, and that includes whether you say it's Allah, whether or not you say it's Jesus, whether or not you say it's Jehovah, whether or not you just say the general term God, whether or not you want to use the Hebrew term Yahweh, whether or not you want to use the term galactic, because yes, some folks have made the quote galactics the goddamn gods also. These are all systems that we chose to turn your own divine inheritance, your godhood, over to someone else. So what did they do? They harvested your energy and created their own system and forced you to feed them with your energy, i.e. your time, etc. So that translated into the spiritual of these statutes and codes. But as we've been screaming, and I have to give credit where credit is due, Brother Bobby Hemmett's been saying this shit since the 90s. Dr. Dilbert Blair has been saying it for quite some time, and other folks as well, that we were coming into a new age where that shit was out the door. That you, with the gods, will have rise again, and when they rise, they will be greater than any system that was ever put in place. That is what this is about.
Right.
So I'll pause, step down off my soapbox, in case the family wants to put something on it.
I want to say this. The Joker, or the jokester, and the magician is the same entity.
Yeah.
And they know the king is dead. So they're using sleight of hand because they're experiencing now a system failure. Their statutes and their codes are going out of business because their financial pyramid they've been building and making people think it's real is crumbling.
Yeah.
And they're trying to entertain you so you don't notice that they are losing big time. And we have to be mindful that we have to get out of the slave mentality that they have put us in, or we put ourselves in, and know that they're not the masters anymore. You are.
That's right.
Just like Beaumont says, you're the gods. You have the opportunity to change time and control it and put yourself in power, because that power was yours in the beginning.
Absolutely.
And you got to capture it back. So the jokester and the magician is trying to take your eyes off that the king, the system, the codes, the laws, the statutes are dead.
Very well said, sis. Very, 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 very well said. Okay, so what we're going to do is I do have one more thing that I wanted to share with the family with the eclipse. And then we're going to get into the topic of discussion tonight, fairy tales and the spirit world. So this particular video is actually by Brother O'Shea Kapoor, and he kind of talked about some of the after effects of the eclipse as well. Let me try to find it. Okay, this is a real short one. This is only, actually I had two. I don't know why I had two up here. Okay, I'll play the longer one, only 5 minutes. So here we go. This is Brother O'Shea Kapoor on the eclipse.
Black Science TV 111, O'Shea Kapoor. I'm back at y'all again. Just made it back into Atlanta. It seems like it's getting dark a little bit. I can actually feel the geomagnetic force field of whatever is about to occur. Clouds look crazy. And then you got these simple-minded so-called black folk out here with the glasses on. That's why they're going to get stuck in the Mandela effect. But yeah, I'm out here, and you can actually feel it. You ain't even got to look at it. It's so strong you can feel it. Why? Because it's a total eclipse. You get what I'm saying? And a lot of people don't know that not only is it going to change the physical beings on this realm, but it's going to change the whole environment. Even though the environment's going to look the same, it's not going to be the same anymore. Just like the environments that you was in the 90s, when you go back to your old neighborhood, those are not the same environments. These are environments coming in from parallel universes. It's just like when you go into a revolving door, the revolving door look the same every time it comes around, but it might not be the same door coming around, but it look identical to that one. That's the same thing what's going on here. Shit is being upgraded. This universe is connected to other universes, and the universe represents a computer, so when your computer needs to be upgraded, this is what happens. You get what I'm saying? To restore memory. Memory from where, though? The memory has to come from somewhere. Memory don't just fall off the sky for your computer. You have to download it or upload it. And this is what's going on with our biological computer. Our memory is uploaded. It feels funny. You can actually feel your physical brain. Like right now, I'm gonna tell you how I feel. I can feel my physical brain. It's going numb a little bit, but at the same time, I can hear a ringing sound. Even with the headphones in my ear, I can hear a ringing sound. It's a distinct ringing. It's not like the ordinary ringing, like you walking around and hear ding, 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 ding. I can actually hear it in the back of my head. You know what I mean? So, yeah, I just made it back to Atlanta, and it's dark. It's dark out here, you know what I mean? And so, it feels good. Like I said, the clouds, something's going on. I know they turned the CERN system on to bring in certain things into this realm other than the natural stuff. So the thing is, the reason why they spraying the chemtrails and stuff is because they trying to cut out the natural energies from coming in, and they turning on the CERN machine to bring in unnatural entities and energies so that they can keep their time going, so that their time won't have to die out, so their time won't die out. You get what I'm saying? So therefore, this is why even now they have blood mobiles rolling around in Atlanta and other major cities, and they're trying to get blood in low-income neighborhoods. Why low-income neighborhoods? Because we have a certain type of carbon in our blood, and not only that, we have certain distinct cells that has a certain distinct nucleus in it, and this nucleus acts as a USB cord or a USB drive. So we have memory downloaded on it from generations, and they can use this right here to actually to alter time, because DNA is nothing but time. DNA is time. When you break down the image of DNA, when you're looking at it in the physical aspect, you are looking at it in the form of vibrational images. But when you break down the vibrational image, it becomes sound. And once you break down the sound, you can look at the blueprint of the sound and then break down the numbers of it. This is why when you go and you playing piano and stuff like that, you have to go by notes. The notes is the numbers so that you can stay on track with what you are playing. You get what I'm saying? So your body is nothing but music. From the physical all the way into the soul. Your soul is music. Except the difference is the physical and the soul. You being a soul, you have rhythm. You have natural rhythm being played by the universe's heartbeat. This is why your heartbeat and the universe's heartbeat is in sync. So now the eclipse has brought you together even closer and giving you more notes for your DNA to play. And they know this. And this is why now I'm pretty sure that Grady Hospital, George Washington Hospital, Lynchburg General, and many other major hospitals in the United States Corporation has now pressed the button to put on code red, to start looking at the black woman coming in tonight that's giving birth to babies. They already looking at, they already on their job. They already telling the nurses, make sure you get the placenta, make sure you get the umbilical cord, because this stuff, the difference between the woman who gave birth last month and this month is that we are getting more memory from the DNA of these women tonight. So let's make sure that we tap into this DNA and get them from these women tonight. So brothers, even if you not in good standing with your queen, go to these hospitals tonight and protect them and make sure that they don't take your seed out the womb. Go and let her get her rest, because when she go to sleep, they're gonna take that seed out the womb, even against her own will. So go out there and be with your seed. Take all that bullshit and set it aside. All right. So Black Science TV 111, Osaka 4. I'm out. Peace.
Okay. All righty. So that was Brother O'Shea Kapoor giving an update on the eclipse and the associated energy. I do also want to say, Sis Sandra, when you was giving the update on, what Brother Seven Bomar was putting down, what came to mind for me also was when we were talking about the statutes and codes have fallen, and Brother Sean made an excellent point. That's why they were tearing down the statues. That was representing also their statutes and codes of what they call law, which is really not law. But anyhow, what interesting thing I have been thinking about over the past 2 weeks is, they know that the current system is over, not only because of the age, okay, they knew that the 36,000-year cycle was coming into play. They knew that the ancient ones are going to rise up and were rising up to take back over the realm. But interestingly enough, the people, even people that we would consider sleep, quote, quote, so meaning they're not so much into the spirituality side, but they even know that something is wrong. And, I have been seeing a lot of articles, on the Federal Reserve. And it's just general articles with them giving a little update, this, that, and the third. And so you always read the comments at the end of an article, because you'll get a true gauge of what folks are thinking. And riddled through every article that I ran across involving the Fed Reserve and that they allowed folks to comment on, I would say a minimum of 50% of the commenters said, abolish, get rid of it, we don't want it, it's slavery, etc., etc., etc. So I'm saying all of that to say, this is why they know that their system is falling, because they've never had the control. That was the wizard behind the motherfucking curtain, which we're going to get into that when we talk about fairy tales and the spirit world. They never had the control. They gave the illusion of control. But once the people change their thoughts, put their intentions with their thoughts into motion, it shuts the shit down. Because we are the creators of this reality.
That's the
always
magician.
Have been. Absolutely.
Yep. That's what they've been using, and it's over.
Yep. It's absolutely, unequivocally over. So the tricks that they're going to try to pull out their sleeve, we kind of went over this before, I want to say 2 weeks ago, when they're going to throw the Bitcoin at you, when they're going to talk about the cryptocurrency, when they're going to talk about living in harmony. Motherfuck the crypto. and all that shit they talking. You don't need them to set up your system. If you are the God that you say you are, be careful who you contract with. You are the creator. At a minimum, you should be writing your own contracts, not the other way around. You taking contracts, signing them. So this is the age of the changing of the guards, okay? So be careful who you contract with, all right? That's also a very important point in Mercury retrograde. If I'm not mistaken, it gives very much caution about contracts, okay?
Don't make them.
We're talking on a spiritual level. Calling on the name of this one and that one and this one and that one. You are contracting with them. That's not what this age is about. You are your God. You have everything within you to save yourself and do what you need to do. So with that said, I'm going to pause before we get into the main topic, fairy tales in the spirit world. And I think Brother Wendell dropped off. Let me see if he came back on. Yep, I see him. Let me open up his mic. Okay, brother, you back?
Yeah, I had just stuck my phone in my pocket and accidentally hung up.
Okay, no worries. I saw you drop off. Okay. All right, family. So, I'm sorry, did you have something?
Yeah. I would also like to add that you are the currency.
That's right. Always have been.
You don't go for Bitcoin or any other cryptocurrency because you put your energy into that. You make that your God. You're enslaving yourself again. If we're supposed to be at the point where we're supposed to manifest things, why do you need anyone's currency? The currency is you. You're the one that's being used to keep this whole system afloat. You think that their fake currency is actually what makes the world go round. No, it's you.
That's right. Always have been.
I'd like to add one more thing. We got to be careful with our signatures. Because when we sign, not only with our minds, we have to be careful with our signatures. Because Abraham Lincoln is the cause of this commercial venue taking place. Because he made our signatures our bond. And he made, in the physical world, he made it where your IOU was collectible and a legal document to enslave yourselves. So we need to be careful with what we say and how we think and what we do. Because otherwise we're going to keep enslaving ourselves into their system, spiritually and physically. And that's all I have to say.
Very good point, sis. So that goes back to the point of what we were saying, that you should be writing your contracts. And so, if you want to learn more about the financial side, you have to do the studying. Okay? You have to study to get yourself out of financial bondage. You have to manifest to get yourself out of financial bondage, and not follow the so-called alleged gurus and the so-called alleged messiahs that claim they're going to do X, Y, Z, 1, 2, 3 for you, and they can't say they goddamn self. They either begging for money behind the scenes or have not achieved for themselves what they claim they're going to do for you. That's because you can only save you. And again, that goes back to you being the God who you are creating your own reality by manifestation, doing your own research, studying, and being the God that you are, that is in the spiritual realm as well as the physical. If you don't believe that you're not, then guess what? You're not. If you believe you got to have somebody over you to do X, Y, Z, guess what? You're going to have somebody over you to do X, Y, Z. If you believe somebody's going to come down and save you, guess what? You're going to be waiting. Okay? So, I do, before we get into, and Brother Wendell, I had to mute you because you had, sound like you was outside. You had a lot of feedback. So just text me, hit me up when you want to put something on it. Or if you get in a quiet place or whatever, and I'll definitely unmute you. Okay, so tonight's main topic, fairy tales and the spirit world. And the purpose of this topic tonight is we're going to go through some of the main fairy tales, childhood fairy tale stories that we grew up with. And we are going to prove how all along they are putting in your face how this relates to spirituality, manifestation, your birthright inheritance, etc. Okay, so before I get to that, again, I want to remind the family, and I am going to be bringing this up quite a bit because we talk about manifestation a lot on this show, and we will continue to talk about manifestation. And I want the family, especially those who are just starting to get into the concept of manifestation, or those that are just simply new to the show, period. I would encourage you to go back to, you can either go back to our archives. We did a show on the law of attraction. Start doing research on the laws of attraction, manifestation, etc. But I am going to give you just 10 quick steps on how you can start using or being the creator that you are. This is just really, really simple stuff that you can start applying as soon as I finish talking or as I'm talking. Okay, this is a 10-step process, and I was just so happened going through Facebook while one of the videos was playing, and a brother had put this up. Shout out to him, okay? Now, this is for those of you that are getting comfortable, beginners at the concept of manifestation or being a creator. All right? Those of you that are, already doing it or whatever, just bear with us. All right. Set a goal. Believe. That goes back to that intent that I talk about all the time. Believe. Write it down. Affirm it. Stay positive. Take action. Meditate. And meditate, don't think you have to do something all deep, sit in a motherfucking circle, burning candles, lighting incense with your hands perched a certain way. Now, if you want to do that, if that helps you set the mood to calm yourself, that's fine. If you're new to meditation, meditate simply means think. Think on whatever your intentions are. Number 8, visualize. That's why one of my favorite songs is I Believe I Can Fly. If I can see it, I can be it, okay? Feel good. Express gratitude. So I'm going to go over this list again. These are simple things that you can do to start creating the world that you want. Set a goal. Believe that the goal that you set, you will achieve it. Write it down. The power of writing things down, believe it or not, that's your contract. That's why I stated we are in the age you're supposed to be writing your own contract. Affirm it. Stay positive. So in other words, we talked about this in Law of Attraction. If you say, I want $100 by, I don't know, the end of this month, whatever your goal is, then you turn around and say, well, damn, in your mind, well, damn, I'm not going to get it. Okay, so that's a negative thought. You done canceled out what the hell you said your goal is. So therefore, you're not going to get that $100. So stay positive. Take action. Meditate, meaning think constantly on what your goal is. Think constantly and believing that you have achieved your goal in the spirit world. It is being brought forward to the physical world. Visualize it. Athletes use the power of visualization all the time. They play out the play in their head of what they're going to do before they hit the field. Feel good. Keep your high vibration rate, okay? Express gratitude. Be thankful for just pretty much everything. Thankful for yourself. Thank your damn self for being who you are. The simple things. Thanking the earth for letting you roam upon it. Thanking your food. We talked about this before. Thanking your food that is giving you nourishment, that have made the sacrifice, whether that be vegetables, meat, whatever. Showing gratitude. So those are just some simple steps. I do encourage the family who is just new to manifestation and being a creator, creating the world that you want to have. These are just simple steps. You can start with these. Very, very easy. But I encourage you to do more research on the law of attraction and being a creator. So with that said, I'll pause if the family wants to put something on it. If not, we're going to go into the main topic.
I just have one thing to put on it.
Absolutely.
I would like to replace that word believe with know, because we're in the age of knowing. You have to know that you're capable of making these things happen. You can't doubt yourself. You have to know.
Very good. Very good. Very good. Thank you for that, Brother Sean. Absolutely, because we are out of the age of believing, and even Brother Seven said that out of the age of searching. You're in the age now of uploading out. When he said uploading, he was really saying of creating. Okay, that's the age we're in. That's right. Why I said you write your own contract. You don't sit down and let somebody write it for you. You write your own contract.
You know, Rhonda, they also have to understand that the powers that be are afraid of them.
Absolutely.
Because anytime you become into consciousness and the knowledge that you are a creator, you wipe them out.
Absolutely.
And that's what they're afraid of, because everybody is so mind control. You're going to have to let them get out of your mind and remember that you are the creator. You create everything just the way you said do it. And they know that. They know that. They've been knowing it. But they always put stuff on your radar that makes you think that you have to ask them. You're the creditor. They're the debtor.
Well,
they owe you. They're just trying to make you think you owe them. They write blank checks. You got to have your checkbook full. And you better not write a check if it's not full. But they write empty, bounced checks and make you pay for it. So you're the creators. And I yield.
Absolutely. Very, very powerful, sis. Very, very powerful. And, just to even just add on to what those powerful statements that sis was making, what you give your energy to is where your focus is at.
That's right.
So in other words, if I'm giving my energy to the white supremacy system, what it's doing, this, that, and the other, what the white man is doing, that's why this shit keeps perpetuating. But if I focus my energy on me, the God that I am, saying, damn all of that white supremacy system, I'm the God, I create empires, I create worlds, I create universes, then how insignificant is it on some damn supremacy system? It's very, very insignificant. These things continued, and I used it in the past tense, because that's where the focus was. When you take your focus off of it and put the focus on you and being the creator that you are, they're no longer going to exist. Those systems, those things, whether it be white supremacy system, whether it be a religious system, requires energy. It is vampire in nature. It cannot stand alone. So with that said, we're going to get into the topic of tonight's show. I don't think anybody is... Okay, nobody's online. Good, because we're winding down. We're going to go into overtime. Okay, so tonight's main topic is fairy tales and the spirit world. Okay, so this particular topic, it came to my mind a couple of weeks ago. And the reason it came to my mind is because, it started to dawn on me, and I have to give credit to Brother Panic, and we're going to use one of his videos because he did the baddest metaphysics breakdown of the Wizard of Oz that I have ever seen. But all of the fairy tales, or they call them folklores, are just basically based on spirituality. Okay? So the definition of fairy tale is a type of short story that typically features folkloric fantasy characters such as dwarfs, dragons, elves, fairies, giants, gnomes, goblins, griffins, mermaids, talking animals, trolls, unicorn, or witches, and usually magic or enchantment. Fairy tales may be distinguished from other folk narratives such as legends, which generally involve belief in the veracity of the events described, and explicitly moral tales, including these fables. The term is mainly used for stories with origin in European traditions, and at least in recent centuries, mostly related to children's literature. And I'm going to dispute that European traditions because a lot of these even go back further than that because they really took it out of a lot of the ancient texts. So anyway, in less technical content, the term is also used to describe something. I hate to use that word blessed, because blessed folks mean be less. So reverse that, abundance. All right. With
but
unusual.
Bless also means to anoint one's head with blood.
Wow, now that I didn't know. I knew it as be less. So I don't particularly care for the word. I use abundance. So anyway, abundance with unusual happiness, as in fairy tale endings, a happy ending, a fairy tale romance, though not all fairy tales end happily. And so then it's saying that it can also mean a far-fetched story or tale. It is used especially of any story that is not only not true, but could not possibly be true. And see, that's the thing that they don't want you to think, that it could possibly not be true. But yet they telling it to you. Yeah, okay. We're going to talk about that. So legends are perceived as real. Fairy tales may merge into legends where the narrative is perceived both by the teller and the hearer and as being grounded in historical truth. However, unlike legends and epics, they usually do not contain more than superficial references to religion and actual places, people, and events. They take place once upon a time rather than in actual times. Okay, so that's just a general definition off of Wikipedia, and some folks even watch, I think it comes on ABC. They have a show called Once Upon a Time, and I've watched a couple of little episodes of it. And it has all of the fairy tale characters doing a bunch of magic stuff. I kind of personally got bored of it, but they throw a lot of metaphysics stuff in there. So here we go. So we're going to start off how I structured this show. I am going to go over some key fairy tales that most of us grew up with as children, and I'm going to, from a metaphysics and a spiritual perspective, show you what the true meaning of it is. Okay, so we're going to start with Jack and the Beanstalk. Okay, so it says, Jack and family was living in poverty, and so the story is that his mom told him to go trade in this cow, okay, for some gold coins, okay. So Jack goes to the little market. Now this is Rhonda's little version, so you can go read the official version, but I'm breaking it down in my layman's terms, okay. So he went to the little market to trade the cow, but instead of trading it for the gold coins, which his mother told him to, he traded in the cow for the magical beans, okay? But dude that sold him the beans told him the beans were magical, okay? So ideally enough, these beans ultimately led him to the wealth. Okay, but we gonna talk about that. So we all know the story. He came to the little crib, and the mom was like, "What?" And boy, if the mom was melanated, that would have been a whole lot of MF and SB for bringing home these magical beans instead of those coins. But anyhow, so the mom got angry and threw the beans down. And so they wind up going through some particular crack, okay, and hitting the soil, okay. And so the beans, one of the beans, I'm assuming one, I can't remember if it was one or two of them, but whatever. A stalk grew relatively fast, and this stalk grew way up into the heavens, okay. So Jack discovers this, and he climbs the stalk, okay? So once he get up to the quote sky, he runs up on this giant. Here's where the metaphysical stuff, well, all of it is really metaphysics. We finna get on something here. So, the giant represents the Nephilim, okay, who, quote, quote, gave the illusion of living in the sky and had all of the wealth. Because when he climbed that beanstalk, or whatever, the stalk, he got up to this mystical place where the giant lived with this castle with all this damn wealth, okay? So the giant represents the Nephilim who had all the wealth. Okay. So, Jack did not go the typical route of trading the cow, which would only give his family temporarily relief. So meaning, if he would have went to the market and traded the cow for the gold coin, those gold coins would have lasted however much that they could have bought with those coins. Instead, he took the route of going from a spiritual perspective. Okay? He said, I'm going to go with the magic route. This dude say these beings are magical. I feel that these beings are magical. I'm going to go that route. Okay? But the magic beings really represent the seed of Jack's soul. So meaning him using his soul consciousness to tap into the spirit world to make things happen. Okay. All right. So the beings also represent a connection with the earth. Jack preferred to take the beings because they could grow and they would never be hungry. So in other words, instead of taking the money or the concept of money, and we talked about this just a couple minutes ago, he took the option from a spiritual perspective to say, you know what? If I give a man a fish, I feed him that one time. But if I teach him how to fish or I teach him how to grow, I can feed him for life, or teach him how to feed himself for life. So the beings also represents that. So meaning Mama Earth, the plane that we live on, provides us with everything that we need. We don't need a concept of money. She provides us with the soil to grow produce, the water to drink, her body, the land to live on, okay? So those beings also represented his connection to the earth. Okay, and so then I also put in here that, but his mother, Jack's mother, had the perception, of the wealth being in the gold coins. Okay, and this goes back to the current, well, I say the old system that we were trapped under, feeling that the wealth was outside of something other than ourselves, which are connected to Mama Earth, because Mama Earth provides everything we need. This concept of money, we created it. There's really no need for us to have money, okay? Now, we're going to go on another deep side, and the kind of Sis Sandra got into this. Now, those of you that study on the financial side, you're going to enter and understand what I'm about to say. The cow represents the selling of a live stock, a.k.a. chattel, for exchange for gold instead of living off the land. So that's all I'm going to say on that. Those of you that don't know what I'm talking about, you need to go research. I'm going to say that again. Then it's going to start to make sense to you. The cow represents the selling of livestock, a.k.a. chattel, for exchange for gold instead of living off the land. Okay. So when Jack climbed the beanstalk, I'm sorry, go ahead on, sis.
Can I add a thing to it? It's the energy. The energy suckers. It's sucking your energy instead of believing you can make it yourself. They suck your energy so you can believe you're going to get something for what you're doing. And you're not getting anything for what you're doing.
You're not getting anything.
Not a thing. You're getting their gold pieces or dollars. That's not worth a thing.
And then they got so slick with the shit, you ain't even getting gold. You're not even getting gold and silver no more.
No, you're getting paper that says it's a note. And that note says, I owe you. Not they owing you owing them. So I just wanted to add.
Absolutely, absolutely. So those that don't know what we're talking about, you need to do a little bit more studying of what livestock and chattel really means. Okay, so when the beanstalk, when Jack climbed up the little beanstalk, that's where he discovered where the true wealth lies. Okay, so, but he had to use the beans in order to create the stalk, in order to discover where the true wealth was hiding. Okay, so now the stock, or the beanstalk, that's what I'm referring to, but I put stock, S-T-O-C-K, also could represent investing in stock to the point of rising higher to discover the true wealth instead of using the gold coins, okay? So that was just a trick for you all to think on that they're using against folks. While folks are chasing gold coins, they have been hiding true wealth into stocks, okay? Livestock. All right. So in other words, the giants, a.k.a. Nephilims, don't use gold. They use livestock to get true wealth. Jack did their same method, only difference is he acquired his initial investment with something sacred, Mama Earth beans. He was able to climb the stock and steal the unlimited amount of wealth, and he and his mother lived abundantly, okay? So, on a spiritual perspective, Jack used the seed of his soul, the beans, which are directly connected to Mother Earth, to rise up his Kundalini energy to access the higher realm. Once he accessed the higher realm, the giant, was asleep because the giant cannot access and cannot operate in these realms. Jack saw the true abundance of wealth and manifested that true wealth to the earth realm. So if you remember that story, he was running his ass up that stalk. He like, oh, you got gold up here. Okay, I'm finna steal this damn goose. This goose coming down with me, the goose that kept laying the golden egg, he just brought a bunch of shit back down. Okay, so that's what that story represented. While he was in the higher realm creating, being a creator, he was able to bring his creation his creation of abundance wealth back down to the earth realm. How did he do that? Climbing up that stalk, climbing up that Kundalini energy. Okay, that's what the going up and down the stalk represents. Okay, so that's my take on Jack and the Beanstalk. I'll pause in case the family wants to put something on it before we move on to the next fairy tale.
We can keep it moving. You covered it pretty well.
Okay. All righty. So the next one we're going to talk about. All right, family. This is going to be the story of Cinderella. Okay, but before I move on, so from now on, hopefully, when you hear the story of Jack and the Beanstalk, that is the story of manifestation. So if you are introducing your babies to these fairy tales or your grandchildren, teach it from the standpoint of what it truly means. Now, of course, you need to be applying this to yourself first and foremost. But if you are going to expose your babies to these fairy tales, you give them the true power of what it means. Jack and the Beanstalk is a story of manifestation. That you are the creator. All you have to do is rise your Kundalini energy, go to the spirit realms, create what you want, and it shall manifest forth in the physical realm. All right, let's go to the story of Cinderella. All righty now. Now, Cinderella is a story of generational wealth theft, infiltration from within, and how to return the wealth. Okay, so excuse me. So Cinderella, in essence, is the story of the fall of the melanated people getting their inheritance stolen. All right? So, as the story goes, and everybody should be familiar with this, that Cinderella's father was basically trifling up in this situation. Okay? Because he married a woman who did not love his daughter, and as far as I'm concerned, didn't love him, because if she did, she wouldn't have treated the daughter the way that she treated her. And then on top of it all, he put his daughter in a situation to not protect her inheritance. Okay? So, in other words, he either wrote a effed up contract that wasn't in the best interest of his daughter, or, which is even worse, and we know people do this all the time, you don't write a damn contract at all. Okay? So, the father winds up dying. So, of course, the woman that he was married to, so either he didn't have a trust established, a will established, or if he did, it was written in a way that benefited the woman. Okay? So she basically pretty much made Cinderella a slave to her and her daughters. So the house that Cinderella was rightfully her inheritance, she was made to be a slave and a servant in her own home. Okay? And this happened because her father did not take proper care of her inheritance, and he allowed an infiltrator through marriage to steal his daughter's inheritance. So this is why I felt this particular story deeper meaning tells the story of the melanated people and how we allowed other folk to steal our inheritance. A lot of it went on through infiltration, through marriage. Okay. A lot of it went with warring with among each other, or other folk coming on other folks' land and warring with us, and then some of our own striking deals with the enemy and signing over our inheritance. All right. So Cinderella, being a slave in her own home, what she had to do was go to the spirit world. That's what all of the little animal friends represented. That's what her fairy godmother represented. So in order for Cinderella to even have a remotely of a chance to come out of the situation that she was in, being under this slavery system, was to go to the spirit world. Okay, so we know how the story goes. The fairy godmother and all of them propped her on up to go to this ball because the stepmom was trying to prop up her ugly ass girls. And we see this all the time. If you think about it, the standard of quote, quote, beauty, I'm going to break this shit down. The standard of beauty for so long, and this is no offense to people with stringy ass hair, but I got to tell the shit like it is. The standard of beauty was long blonde hair, straight hair, no kinks allowed, no lighter than the brown paper bag. Okay, so in other words, the kinky or nappy hair or the dark melanated skin, that was out. Okay? So no longer was the black and the brown beautiful. It was the total opposite of what beauty is. Okay? So that's what Cinderella's mom was trying to do. Prop her own ugly ass daughters up to get dressed up to go to this ball to even marry into even more wealth. Okay? That's what this whole ball was about. Going to snag the little prince to inherit or marry into even more wealth. And we see this today on even the melanated community side. We see where it was, melanated people reach a certain status point from a financial perspective, and we see other nationalities jockeying to marry into that wealth. Okay, and it used to be the brothers were the biggest offender of this. Okay, and athletes being the biggest, entertainers, and Hollywood is riddled with the shit. It almost seems like it's a code with them. The more money you make, if you a melanated person, you have to have every other race on your arm but your own. Okay, that's the classic story of Cinderella. Okay, other folk jockeying to marry into that wealth inheritance. Okay, so Cinderella, she had raggedy, literally in rags, slaving and shit, and her own inheritance domain. She took the shit to the spirit world. Okay, because she wasn't an ugly woman. She just needed to take it to the spirit realm where the real power is. So in other words, I can't compete with these ugly bitches on this physical level because they got the higher position of me from a monetary standpoint. They can go buy the designer stuff to put on and still be looking tacky as hell, but that's a different story, okay? So I have to take my stuff to the spiritual realm, all right? So that's where the godmother and them hooked her up, animals and all. So with her having the connection to the animals, it's telling you that she had the connection to the earth, all right? So the animals helped her make her shit. I mean, she had a sharp-ass dress the first time. Her and the animals decked the shit out, all right? So the ugly-ass stepsister sees her stuff because they know that she is a true beauty, and she can put their ugly ass to shame no matter what type of designer they have on, rather. So they destroys her shit. You won't be going to this ball, blah, 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 blah. She said, oh, okay then, so you going to tear up what me and the little animals did. Cool. All right, so the fairy godmother, which represents the spiritual realm, created a beautiful gown for her, decked her all out. She had a fly-ass ride, chauffeur, everything. She walks up in the ball, all eyes were on her, okay? Immediately, the prince saw the true inheritance that she really is. So he saw the true queen in her. It didn't matter what the other bras' pedigree claimed that they were. They were from this family, this, that, and the third. He immediately saw it in her, okay? So we know how that story went. They danced, and he was all enchanted, this, that, and the other. So she had to bounce up out of there early because her spell was going to wear off at a certain little time. So she left the shoe behind. So we know how the story goes. Everybody else tried to trick the prince because he went all around the town trying to find out who can fit this glass slipper, right? And she was ultimately the only one able to fit it, okay? And so they married, meaning she married not only back into her inheritance, but even greater inheritance, okay? So this still correlates into what is going on in this planet with the indigenous people of these various lands. All right? Not only are you coming back into your inheritance, but you are coming back into greater. All right? So that is what the story of Cinderella means. It showed you how generational wealth was stolen, how it happened with infiltration within, and how the wealth will be returned to the rightful owners on a greater scale. So with that said, I'll pause in case somebody want to put something on it.
Definitely. We could also look at it from this aspect. Her mother died. That was us going to a patriarchal society, leaving the matriarchal society.
Wow.
The father was too weak to properly govern. Fairy godmother representing the divine feminine energy returning, properly restoring her to her throne. The glass slippers can be looked at as, reaching that Christ position. They're on the sole of your feet, your soul. And that's her reaching that Christ position, that crystalline being.
Wow. Okay. I didn't think of it in that aspect. Wow, Brother Sean. I'm sorry, sis. Go ahead on.
I love your storytelling, and I love Brother Sean and his analysis, too. But I just like to bring it a little bit closer to home. We think we're the poorest people on this planet.
Yep.
And we are the richest people in the universe because the planet is ours. And as long as we think that we're the, I'm going to say it again, debtor and not the creditor, we are always going to be less than a Cinderella, but we're going to be greater than the Cinderella because our fairy godmothers and fathers are going to whip some butts and bring us back into our inheritance. But we have to be prepared for that and be ready to accept that, and don't look to anybody else but yourself to connect to your ancestors and your Akashic record to get yourself out of the debtor's position. With that, I yield.
Wow. Okay. And if you don't know what she's referring to, you better do some research on your own. But I'm sorry. Go ahead on, Brother Sean.
Also, people need to look into the original version of Cinderella, the Brothers Grimm's version, where at the end when she marries the prince, it wasn't about the doves being released, as in the way Disney depicted it. The birds actually came and pecked her sister's eyes out and killed them at the wedding. Karma. Karma for the way they treated her.
That karmatic debt.
They want people to know how that story really turns out.
Wow. Family, if you have something you want to put on that you want to join the conversation, press star 1 to get in the queue. Okay, so the other, fairy tale I want to get into this one, y'all. Woo! Alice in Wonderland, or Alice in Damn Wonderland. All right, so Alice in Wonderland, number one, it is used very, very heavily in a lot of occult things, okay? So I'm going to, for this one, because it's used for so many different things, I wanted to bring in a couple of articles that kind of breaks down also what Alice in Wonderland means, because I even learned some new things on the origins of it. And then we're going to put it on a metaphysics perspective. So this particular article I got out of the BBC News. This was back in 2012. Okay, is Alice in Wonderland really about drugs? Okay. Alice in Wonderland fans have been marking the 105th anniversary of the fateful boat trip that saw the genius of the children's tale. But why do so many see adult themes in the story? Asked Sophia Robermead. Alice's adventures in Wonderland is on one level at least, the story of a girl who disappears down a rabbit hole to a fantastic place full of bizarre adventures. Charles Dodgson, a mathematician at Christ Church, Oxford, that don't surprise me now, first told his surreal story to the daughters of Dean Henry Little as they rolled down the Thames or the Thames. After the boating trip, 10-year-old Alice Little badgered Dodgson to write it down, and Alice in Wonderland under the pseudonym Lewis Carroll was born. The heroine follows a talking white rabbit, meets the Queen of Hearts, and plays crochet using flamingos as mallets. Sorry, my mouth's getting dry, family, from all this reading. Since the 1960s, there has been a trend for readers to identify an underlying drug theme in the book. The Cheshire Cat disappears, leaving only the Enigma grin behind. Alice drinks potions and eats pieces of mushrooms to change her physical state. The caterpillar smokes an elaborate water pipe. The whole atmosphere of the story is so profoundly disjointed from reality, surely drugs must have had an influence. After all, this was the era of legal opium use. Jefferson Airplane's 1967 psychedelic anthem, White Rabbit, runs the drug theme. When the man on the chessboard get up and tell you where to go, and you've just had some kind of mushroom, and your mind is moving low, go ask Alice. I think she'll know. And I also just want to add, remember at the beginning of the show when I played the clip on Brother Dick Gregory, and he talked about John Lennon and how John Lennon admitted to Brother Dick Gregory that most of their songs, if not all of them, were based in drug use. That's what Lucy in the Sky meant, which stood for LSD. Okay. The Matrix provides a film reference point. You take the blue pill, the story ends. You wake up in your bed and believe whatever you want to believe. You take the red pill, you stay in Wonderland. And I show you how deep the rabbit hole goes. The drug link is a homesprung thing. You'll find it on a host of random forums, but the experts are usually skeptical. Carroll wasn't thought to have been a recreational user of opium or Landrium, and the references may say more about the people making them than the author. The notion that the surreal aspect of the text are the consequences of drug-fueled dreams resonate with a culture, particularly perhaps in the 60s, 70s, and 80s, when LSD was widely circulated, and even now where recreational drugs are commonplace, says Dr. Heather Worthington, children's literature lecturer at Cardiff University. And just to add, if you just do your own little research on the true story and history of LSD, you'll even see how it came into being, because they were using LSD to purposely study the subconscious mind, okay? So, you know, they full of shit about this whole, they don't know how to drug stuff popped up into place. That was all orchestrated. It came out of the laboratories with them experimenting on the college students with the LSD and the mushrooms and all that, et cetera, et cetera. And there's a good documentary on it. I'll try to find it and post it out on Truth Uncompromised, where it talks about how the Alphabet Boys literally went around in the 60s in San Fran distributing these psychedelic drugs, okay? So they knew exactly what the hell they were doing. And then you have musicians that admitted, you know, musicians that came out of the 60s like the Beatles and a lot of those other groups who admit that their lyrics were based on psychedelic drugs and drug use. Okay, so anyway.
You know what?
Go ahead on, sis.
I don't know if you said it in the beginning, but I heard somewhere that the Beatles were CIA plants.
Yeah.
And that was their job to sell the joy of drug use and how far it can take you. And so the powers that be have always used drugs as a means to control the populace. And these battles and wars in the Philippines and Afghanistan and all these countries, they use the drugs, the heroines, the poppies, the opiates. Mm-hmm. Now it's an epidemic because that is a way they want to control your consciousness. And we won't even talk about how they manipulated crack cocaine to mimic DNA of a melanated person. So because they found it in the mummies and the coca plant.
Yep.
What they're trying to do right now is go back into Afghanistan. I guess they even get enough heroin out of there, I guess, and get some more. And because they want you to be so stupefied that you won't know that you're being taken down, and that you need to get your consciousness back and get out of the kundalini. Rise out of the body need and get into the higher self and the higher frequency. Because as long as you can get into a high frequency with drugs, don't get me wrong, but it's artificial and it's lived. But you need to vibrate with in your own chakras, so that when this planet veers away in a different dimension, you're not left behind with these idiots controlling your consciousness with artificial means. That goes with prescription drugs too.
Yes, it does.
Drugs, bad, because they change your mind. You don't even remember half the things you said. They don't. You won't even. It'll be like you have Alzheimer's by the time you finish taking them prescription drugs too. So, all these drugs are artificial means, and there's so many natural things that the earth gives you to get yourself out of sick conditions.
Yep.
And I just can't say how much that drugs have played a part in bringing our people down.
Yeah.
Don't let them do that to you. Don't.
Yeah.
If you want to try it, don't. If you think you can overcome it, you won't. Just don't do it.
Yep. Very. I'm sorry. Go ahead, brother.
What people have to realize is that the whole Woodstock event period was special ops.
Right.
The entire event. But it's the man-made drugs, the big farm drugs is actually taking people out of sync. Because like with Cinderella, how they say that she partook of the mushroom.
Right.
And it altered her body. That's the exact same mushroom that Mario eats on Mario Brothers, and it makes him grow and give him special powers.
Yep.
And the hoopah.
I mean, there's a lot of worship of the mushroom. Some people say that certain statues or whatever are penises, but they're actually mushrooms.
That's interesting.
Different shapes of mushrooms. And it's that the mushrooms, those particular mushrooms usually grow up under the pine tree, the pineal gland. That's why they really don't want us to dwell into that. That's why they want to give us their version. And they never left Afghanistan.
No, they didn't.
They
controlling the opium. But that's because over in China, that's part of their religion.
Yeah.
That's how they're still able to control China. But people think that China actually wanted to help us melanated beings.
Yeah, right.
Here we go with the wordplay again. Asian, Caucasian. They're the same people.
Right.
So,
yep.
I mean, go ahead, sir.
No. And I was actually one of them that felt that until I took a little deeper look, and I'm like, oh, this is the same old shit. Oh, and by the way, China had a bank run early this week.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Well, the Dow is plummeting.
Yeah, don't surprise me. So, dang. Oh, that's the point I wanted to make before it leaves my mind. Okay. About the drug use and the control of the poppy fields. Real quick. We talked about this certain time, couple of times on this show, but I'm going to bring it back up now, especially since they're talking about the story of Alice in Wonderland is riddled in drug use. And we talked about the control of the poppy fields. The crack coke, and I've got to give a shout out, honor, and respect to Brother Bobby Hemmett. He said this shit in the 90s, and I wasn't there when he said it. I just was fortunate enough to run up on that YouTube video, and that shit never left the sister. He said in the 90s, in the 90s and the 80s, the melanated people were strung out on crack. Okay? You're not sure how that whole thing played out. You need to get the book by Gary Webb called Dark Alliance. A white brother lost his life doing some hell of a research on how crack cocaine really got started in this nation, how they targeted the melanated people, where they brought it in from. Of course, it was through the military, all that. Okay. So we know in the 80s, melanated people got introduced to crack. It spread across the nation. And in the 90s, that's when folks have really got out of control. They were the crackheads, this, that, the third. Bobby Hemmett said back in the 90s that melanated people were going to come out of that crack stuff. He said this is what was shown to him on the spirit world, that we were going to come out of the crack thing. And a karmatic debt, karma, was going to have to be paid back for the deliberate plan to put the melanated people on crack. And it was going to be that the Caucasians were going to be strung out on some drugs. Now, I'm going to ask the family, what is the biggest drug now that are knocking people on their ass?
Opioids.
Who is the biggest audience that is strung out on the opioids? I'm not saying that melanated people ain't. We talking about the biggest people. Exactly. So that is that karmatic debt that had to be paid back. Now, the sad-ass part about it, this the sad part about it, because the same systems or folks or energies that used the crack cocaine era to target the melanated people called them damn self-repeating the shit again with the opium heroin. But the universe said, no, there has to be a debt paid back. So this is why we're seeing the cycle of the heroin epidemic impact the Caucasian folks so heavily. It is a karmatic debt from the crack era. Okay, so I want to put that out there as well. All right.
Okay, I also
go ahead on, brother.
And I hope I'm not jumping ahead of myself. But also in The Wizard of Oz, they had a poppy field. Remember they fell asleep in it?
Yes. 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 Mm-hmm. Oh, and Brother Kale said, and let's not forget Hong Kong. Let's not forget China lost Hong Kong. Yep, through an opium drug deal. Also Trump helped finance Iran Contras. Oh, now I didn't know that, Brother Kale. Also, Trump helped finance Iran Contras and the drugs in Cali. Okay, I did not know that. So that book that I referred to by Gary Webb, Dark Alliance, takes you through the whole crack cocaine era, and he traced it all the way back up to the White House through the Iran Contras. But Brother Kale saying Trump card got a piece of that as well. Okay, Brother Wendell, let me unmute you. I see you, sweetheart. Let me let you put something on it. All right, let me find you because you came back in. There you are. Here we go. All right, Brother Wendell, there you go.
Hey, did you say the caterpillar was sitting there with a straight shooter?
Not well, I don't know what a straight shooter is. I don't know if the caterpillar was smoking crack.
You said he was smoking. He was smoking a water pipe. That's a damn straight shooter.
That's what it said.
But you know what color that caterpillar is gonna be 9 out of 10 times? It's gonna be brown and black.
So I don't know if they saying what's the straight shooters? That's some weed.
No, that's a crack pipe.
That's a glass crack pipe.
Oh, okay. So that's crack. See, I don't know nothing about no crack, y'all.
Yeah.
Okay, so he was smoking some crack.
Yeah, he's smoking a crack pipe. Now, you said something about Afghanistan, right?
Mhm.
About them. Ain't it kind of funny or weird that they want to go back in Afghanistan, which we know they never left.
Right.
They got to go get another supply, because these little white children out here acting a fool right about now. They fiends and they know what they got to do. They got to go get them some more drugs to cool them off.
Yeah, you all do a little research. You know, if you don't, live around in the Caucasian neighborhoods, we talking they're quote middle class to upper middle class. They getting hit up just like the crack era, y'all, where they children are strung the F out. Clinics are popping up. They trying to help these folks get off this heroin. The overdoses are just atrocious. And just so you know, the chemistry behind heroin, that heroin and alcohol and that damn meth, and meth is just straight up chemicals. I mean, damn, meth is flat out chemicals. But those are the three hardest drugs to break from. And so they have declared the heroin an epidemic. But this time, it is definitely among the Caucasian race. Now, that don't mean that some melanated people ain't fallen into the trap or have fallen into the trap, because even in the 70s, they had a little heroin thing going on with the Vietnam War that devastated some melanated communities as well, especially in New York. Okay, but this time it is clearly the epidemic is hitting the Caucasian race, and particularly in these middle and upper class neighborhoods.
But also keeping into perspective karma with this. The drug that they're using to bring these people back to life is also almost taking lives. Now, the same police that didn't want to help melanated people on crack, you just wanted to lock them up instead of the other. You're trying to save these people, and it's almost costing you your life.
Yeah, it's pretty bad.
I mean,
it's pretty bad. It's so bad, family. It's someone had got arm stuck up at a gas station. Whether you want to say stuck up or whatever, they getting ready to get out their little car, pump their little gas. And this heroin head, Caucasian dude, this is Caucasian on Caucasian crime, y'all. And this was in a damn good neighborhood, now mind you. Pulls out a knife on the person and robbed them, okay, and then went on their way. So the little person called the police, this, that, and the third. So the police told them that, oh, yeah, this happens all the time at this gas station. In this upper-class neighborhood. The police said, matter of fact, you need to be getting up out of here like now. And this happens so much that I cannot. The police said he couldn't even count on his hand how many times it had happened that week. That he keeps stacks of paperwork up in his car to fill out the so-and-so report. So I'm going to say again, this is in an upper-class neighborhood. And told a little Caucasian lady to pretty much get the hell on. That is how bad this heroin epidemic is in the Caucasian neighborhoods. And if you pay attention, remember in the 90s you would see crackheads walking around like zombies? and they were melanated. If you pay attention, you're going to see Caucasians walking around like zombies. Heroin zombies, homeless, begging on the corner, all that. I'm sorry, go ahead on, sis.
I just turned the street the other day on Wednesday, and there was 3 of them on the same side of the street, and they were just talking to the sky, and I'm like, that's interesting. I really, because you see homeless people, but you usually see Mexicans or Asiatics out there, but they were Europeans, and you're absolutely.
That's why I say you have to pay attention, because my sis, she can attest to it. I was calling her, girl, this shit is tripping me out. That's like the 90s all day long, except it's different races. I'm seeing white folks looking like crackheads and homeless and begging, and they kind of walk up on you, and you got to be on your guard. The shit is totally reversed, so just pay attention.
And they in the hood too.
Yeah. Absolutely. Turning tricks, heroin holes, all of that. And I'm like, damn, are people seeing what's going on? This shit has totally reversed out.
Right.
Totally reversed. And so Brother Kel said they Caucasians today are drug victims. Blacks on crack were called drug addicts. Absolutely. Crackheads, all of that. They came up with a nickname for the heroin addicts. But, they showed quick hit the crackheads.
Wait a minute. The sheriffs are now helping the heroin European. And in our people, they put them all in prisons. Most of them are in prisons from crack. Get 3 years, 5 years for it, and the European got 6 months for the powdered kind, And now it's payback, just like Bobby Hemmett said, it's payback. You can't do that to people and not expect to get
exactly.
Payback.
And it's sad that the Caucasian folks that are strung out on it got caught up in that karmic debt, but the difference is they may not be locking them up, but this the effed out part about it, y'all, because they're dying. So, at least with a crackhead, they got locked up for the most part. It gave them a chance to sober up, unless they went into jail and started tricking to get some drugs, but it was only so much drugs they could get. But since they not locking folks up and trying to get them into treatment, which they don't want to go in, these folks are killing over. We talking people are going to get fixes with their children in the back seat and effing overdosing with the babies in the car.
Yeah, the parents. Oh yeah, a lot of that stuff.
This is pretty deadly. It's very, very deadly. So just from a spiritual perspective, I'm just letting you know, I got to give shout out to Brother Bobby Hemmett. That's the karmic debt. I'm sorry, sis. Go ahead on.
I was just, there's an increase in heat-related deaths and forgetting the kids are in the back seat. Now, you think those people are tripping on something that they forget the kids is in the back seat?
I mean, I don't know. They could be.
They got to go get that dope. They ain't thinking about no baby. They got to go get that dope.
I mean, how can you forget your kids in the back seat?
Because if that dope caller, that's what you're going to do. You're going to forget everything.
Right. And maybe they're not reporting that's the reason it's happening, to keep it out of them.
They ain't going to report it. Look, I remember before Dick Gregory passed on, so I forget who it was interviewing, but he said his researchers found out that I think it was up in Rhode Island or Maine or one. That's where the epidemic is sure enough jumping off.
What? That's where the I always thought of Maine, maybe not so much Rhode Island, but Maine, that's where some serious coins are.
Yeah.
Supposedly
Yeah,
in the legacy. That's deep.
Yeah.
Wow. Well, Brother Sean, you know you in the Midwest with me. You know the shit is off the hook in the Midwest.
Yeah, exactly. Especially here in Ohio.
Absolutely.
But that crack hit them pretty hard too. That's why they started making the sentences so stiff on crack, because they got off into crack and everything too. I mean, they because I know guys who still serving them now. As far as for the sisters, you know, they get on crack, get strung out, go to jail for a while. They don't have to trick while they're in there because they actually get a chance to get clean for a while, get thick again. And then when they come back out, they can start right back again with a whole new batch of people. They thicker. People don't necessarily know their history. You know, they could get over on people.
But I heard that the crack, the quality of crack, that's a shame, y'all, we know. But when you know street people, you get to get all this little insight. And it really lines up with what's happening and what they be forced to tell you up in the media. But the crack isn't as strong, the crack today isn't as strong as the crack was back in the 90s. And that would make sense because of how the drugs are coming into this nation. So if they over in Afghanistan controlling the poppy fields, which the heroin is made from, that is some very pure stuff. Okay. So I heard that it's not the heroin. That's why the heroin is so much cheaper. It's much purer. And why it's so much out of control, and that crack not as powerful as it was back in the 90s.
Well, a lot of this opium nowadays is synthetic, too.
Wow.
It's not even real opium that they're getting. That's why it's killing so many people as quickly as it is.
That would make sense.
Because it's synthetic.
That would make a lot of sense. Wow, that would make a lot of sense, and especially like meth, because meth ain't nothing but synthetic, and it's literally eating people alive. So very, very interesting. So, okay, so I'm not going to read the rest of this article because it just goes on. We didn't have too much further to go anyway, but you get the idea of the little characters, like the caterpillar that was smoking crack. Alice was eating on some mushrooms. So it's basically saying that they felt that Alice in Wonderland, a part of it was based in drugs. Now, the spiritual part of it, so in other words, the author may have been high at the time of creating the little story, but here is the spiritual aspect of it, because as Brother Sean was trying to allude to with about those mushrooms, how mushrooms grow in the dark, if I'm not mistaken. They grow in the dark, and specifically he was saying, I know them to grow under trees for the most part. And so he used the analogy of a form of the mushroom growing under a pine tree. So the pine cone represents your pineal gland. So the taking of the mushroom has always been, and if you do a little research into why originally folks started taking mushrooms, it was to tap into that pineal gland, okay, that spiritual realm. Okay, so where I'm going with this is, if dude that wrote Alice in Wonderland was truly getting his high on, and back then he was probably either getting, I'm guessing he was probably getting effed up on heroin or either coke, or maybe mushrooms or maybe shrooms. It also unlocks that subconscious mind. So that helped him also be able to write this, and the spiritual world connotation behind Alice in Wonderland came out also. And if you ever want to get a true meaning of how plants are supposed to be used for, we say, medicinal purposes or spirit realm purposes, that's when you could read up on what shamans are. They're very, very knowledgeable of being able to tell you which plant to use to get those subconscious unlockedness. Okay, so this particular article is called Deeper Hidden Meanings and Things in Alice in Wonderland. This is off of a website called letterpile.com. Okay, the book Alice in Wonderland by Lewis Carroll has been part of many children's lives. It seems like a simple fairy tale, but it goes much deeper than that. The events in the story correlates with the steps in a child's growth and progression through childhood and adolescence. According to the editors, Charles Frey and John Griffin, Alice is engaged in a romance quest for her own identity and growth. For some understanding of logic, rules, and games people play, authority, time, and death. When you approach the book with this idea in mind, it offers interesting and meaningful interpretation of the events of the characters in the story. Okay, the journey begins with curiosity. At the beginning of Alice in Wonderland, Alice daydreams and is unable to pay attention while her sister reads an advanced novel to her. Alice's mindset is childlike, distractible. While her imagination runs wild, she begins to piece together a perfect world of her own. That's when Alice notices a white rabbit, a manifestation of her imagination that sparked her curiosity. Alice follows the rabbit because she is burning with curiosity. Soon she finds things becoming curiouser and curiouser. Children are usually the people with most curiosity. They are the ones who are always eager to learn. Later, Tweedledee and Tweedledum, I hated that damn story. Even the damn name irks me. But anyway, tell her the tale of the curious oysters, which is about how curiosity can lead to terrible consequences. This shows how adults often use stories to control children with fear and destroy children's sense of imagination and curiosity by telling them to quit asking questions and grow up. Now, who also does that? What system does that to tell people to don't ask questions and wants to stifle the imagination? That's the system of religion. Okay, so anyhow, Tweedledee and Tweedledum symbolizes parents who are trying to keep Alice's imagination in check. Okay, eat me. Alice gets in trouble because of her curiosity. The white rabbit tells her to run into the house to quickly fetch his gloves. While searching for them, she opens a cookie jar only to find a cookie with "Eat Me" written on it. Without thinking twice, she consumes the cookie. Alice is still in her childhood stage and needs an adult to guide her. At this moment, there is no such figure. We view children as needing gentle guidance if they are to develop emotionally, intellectually, morally, even physically. Alice eating the cookie represents two very important ideas. The first is, again, how curiosity gets one into trouble. She eats the cookie after being told the tale of the curious oysters because a child will sometimes disobey and do something even after being told it is wrong. By eating the cookie, she demonstrates Kohlberg's first theory of moral development. Stage one of the pre-conventional level. which states that right is whatever avoids punishment or gains reward. Okay, and that also reminded me of the story of the Garden of Eden with the apple. But anyway, because there was no parent or adult figure around, curiosity prevailed against better judgment, and she ate the cookie. This situation may also be about peer pressure while growing up. Inside the cookie jar were many cookies with labels with different instructions. The cookies were all telling her what to do. Just like everyone does at some point, she gives in to peer pressure. As a consequence, she grows rapidly into a giant. The white rabbit and the other characters she encounters perceive her giant self as a monster instead of a little girl. A society may perceive youngsters who give into peer pressure, for example, who takes drugs or experiment in other reckless ways, as monstrous. On many occasions, Alice shows her juvenile nature, her childlike thinking, and confusion. When she falls down the rabbit hole and is confronted by the door, she gives herself some good advice, saying, "For if one drinks much from a bottle marked poison, it is almost certain to disagree with one sooner or later." The door responds, "I beg your pardon," with a confused look on his face. In a relationship between a young child and an adult, the adult is often unable to comprehend the child's logic. It isn't until the formal operation stage at age 11 or 12 that the child is able to apply logical thought to abstract, verbal, and hypothetical situations. Obviously, Alice has not yet achieved this level of thinking. Shortly after Alice enters Wonderland, she encounters something else that makes no sense to her. When she is wet after being washed up onto the shore, she listens to a dodo bird who tells her to run in a circle with everyone else in order to dry off. What he is telling her to do makes no sense whatsoever because the water keeps engulfing them, but she continues to do it anyway. By blindly obeying the adult figure, she exposes her childlike ignorance. Later in the book, Alice is confronted with another confusing situation. The White King is waiting for his messengers and asks Alice to look along the road to see if they are coming. "I see nobody on the road," says Alice. "I only wish I had such eyes," the king remarked in a fretful tone. "To be able to see nobody, and at that distance too. Why, it's as much as I can do to see real people by this light." This somewhat exemplifies the pre-operational stage of childhood, which includes symbolic function, meaning that one thing can stand for another. Apparently, the author is trying to get a point across that nobody can stand for a person as well as nothing. Here is another lack of understanding between adults and children. But this time, the adult statements seem easier to comprehend for Alice and make surprisingly more sense than her previous realization. This shows how she is mentally progressing towards the formal operation stage little by little. And then a quote says, "I wonder if I've been changed in the night. Let me think. Was I the same when I got up this morning? I almost think I can remember feeling a little different. But if I'm not the same, the next generation is, who in the world am I? Ah, that's the great puzzle. Who are you? I hardly know." As Alice progresses through her dream, she loses her sense of identity, just as most people do when they hit adolescence. When the caterpillar, who was smoking crack, now I ain't gonna never look at that caterpillar the same. Okay, when the caterpillar When the caterpillar asks Alice, "Who are you?" and Alice can barely stammer out a reply, "I hardly know," then Carol is exposing the quintessential vulnerability of the child whose growth and knowledge of self and the world vary so greatly from day to day that a sense of answerable identity becomes highly precarious, if not effervescent. Shit, I could say that about most adults who you ask who they are, or they can't answer the question who they are. But anyhow, at this point in the story, Alice has reached an age where she has lost her identity. That is adolescence. In the industrialized world, children must find themselves on their own. They attempt to carve out an identity that is distinct from both the younger world being left behind and the older world that is still out of range. The caterpillar doesn't ever give Alice any direction, and she is now forced to find out who she is on her own. She is rarely aided by the creatures she meets, whereas in A Tale of Grimm's or Anderson or John Ruskin, the protagonist meeting with a helpful bird or beast would signal his or her charity towards the world of nature. That's Frey. In Alice in Wonderland, unlike other fairy tales, the story represents a child's true progression through life. In real life, in the industrialized world, a child has to figure things out on her own. In sociological, there is a stage called transitional adulthood. This is a period where young adults find themselves. Young adults gradually ease into responsibility. They become serious. That's Hessling. Quote, by the end of the story, Allison learns to deal with her problems and regain sight of her identity. The queen, who loses her temper and wants to kill Alice, is the obstacle that finally helps Alice to become an adult. To leap over this obstacle, she reaches into her pocket to find a mushroom from earlier, eats it, and grows to an enormous size. This most likely represents how she is facing her fear and taking on responsibility or growing up. Alice in Wonderland is a perfect example of childhood through adolescence. Just as a child's life is filled with good and bad choices, Alice is too. As most do, she learns from her experiences and ultimately becomes more mature emotionally in how she deals with her problems and in the way she perceives different situations, all of which encompasses in the progression of a child. And then the quote is, I'm afraid I can't explain myself, sir, because I am not myself, you see. Okay, so that is the take, another take on Alice in Wonderland. I'm going to pause, let the family put something on it, and then I'm going to give the spiritual breakdown.
Yeah. Alice is definitely a spiritual journey for a journey of growth. Definitely about finding herself in the rabbit hole. I'm also looking at their rabbit hole as the astral plane and the demiurges, because none of them are really helping her.
Yep.
They want her to stay down there and play with them and keep them company. They want to feed off her energy.
Yep. Very, 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 very good. Totally agree with you. I look at that rabbit hole, and I think you said this one time, Brother Sean, that you said the goal is to not find out how deep the rabbit hole is, because the rabbit hole never ends.
Exactly.
So meaning you're trapping yourself thinking that you uncovering something, and all the while you're getting deeper and deeper and deeper into another matrix, okay? So the goal is to know how to navigate the rabbit hole. So in other words, come up out that bitch.
Exactly.
That's what the goal is. And when Alice took ownership of her own stuff and said, first of all, I got to find out and know who I am, and I could get myself out of it, because these damn animals ain't helping. Shit, the caterpillar smoking crack.
That's so funny.
I ain't gonna look at that the same no more, y'all. I swear I ain't. So that if the animals smoking crack, doing LSD, tooting heroin, how the hell is they gonna help her? So she had to figure that out and take ownership of her own navigation of the rabbit hole, which represents the spiritual plane, okay, to come up out of it. And so, you know, in conclusion, I say that the story of the Alice in Wonderland is the story about one's own consciousness and becoming into knowing thyself.
Well, I want to carry back to the eclipse. It's a matrix setup, you know, to keep people just seeing the rabbit hole, or not seeing the rabbit hole. Let's put it like that. They're not even seeing the rabbit hole that they've been trapped into. And whatever they say do, they do. You know, like the queen, you know, do this, do that. You just do it because they told you to do it, and not really thinking for yourself to wonder why they're telling you to do that. Put the goggles on. Don't look up. Oh, how great this is. This is the most wonderful thing that ever happened to mankind. It's just you walking in your drugs in this matrix world they done set up for you. Your prescription drugs, your alcohol, your cigarettes, your street drugs. Oh, don't forget, marijuana. Oh, it's medicinal. Yeah, right. For some, maybe. But it said we're trapped in this rabbit hole because we don't have enough sense to realize you gotta get out.
Right. Very well said, sis. And I'm even gonna go on to add on to that you know, you have some that don't even realize the rabbit hole is there, you know, and that's going to take a lot of them getting to know self and coming into their quote what we call consciousness to even recognize that the rabbit hole is there. Let's go a step further and say, what about those that know about consciousness, but they still fall into the trap of getting into the damn rabbit hole and getting deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper? And they do that by going into the rabbit hole and getting into up under other systems within the rabbit hole. So meaning calling on other spiritual deities, okay? Taking on other mantras, going under this particular system of spirituality, going under that particular system of spirituality, and all along they're still trapped in the rabbit hole, and in some cases going deeper and deeper and deeper and thinking, oh, I'm doing good, when they're really going deeper into the matrix, okay? So those are the two traps that's out there for folks when the goal is that you're supposed to be able to navigate out, in and out. You're supposed to be the God that can dance in and out of these particular realms, okay? And the story of Alice, although they put it in the light of growing into an adult, from a spiritual perspective, it is about growing spiritually, growing up from a spiritual perspective. So, or in other words, instead of playing on the checkerboard, you off of that bitch.
Make your
you
own board.
Above the checkerboard, and you see
Right.
how the game is played. You like, yeah, well, whatever.
Okay, that's right. You're the creator.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So that is the story of Alice in Wonderland. Now, we're not going to have time. I'm going to continue it next week because I saved one of the most famous stories for last, which I am going to have Brother Panic break that down on the Wizard of Oz. Okay, so we're going to get into that next week because we're definitely not going to have time. We only have a couple of minutes left into the show. So we'll come back next week and conclude with that on the fairy tales in the spirit world with the Wizard of Oz. And so next week's show, we're going to focus on, the topic is going to be no stone unturned. Okay, so meaning everything hidden will be and is being revealed. Okay, so we're going to look at that from a physical perspective, metaphysical, and spiritual perspective. I also want to say that Sis Joan will be back Wednesday. I think she's doing it at 8 o'clock this week. Wednesday, 8 o'clock Eastern time. She is doing the series on the book of Elizabeth H. Initiation. Okay. So she'll be back this Wednesday at 8 o'clock doing that. Sis Lioness, I think she's going on to Blog Talk Radio. She's going to do shows. I know she's going to do one on Saturday. She may do one on Wednesday. So check the Truth Uncompromised Facebook page for that information. I will put out her show information as well. I haven't seen her Blog Talk page yet to share with you all, but I will certainly get it to you. So we're going to wind down with the comments. So, Brother Wendell, you have any last words for the family?
Don't forget you at war.
Oh, yeah.
We got a hell of a war going on. From Jack and the Beanstalk all the way down to Cinderella.
And a caterpillar smoking crack.
And a caterpillar smoking crack.
Woo. Damn. What kind of help are these demigods? Just think of that. You calling yourself calling on a demigod and they a crackhead? Okay, whatever. Okay.
That's like Freud. Freud was on all kinds of stuff, and he was a great psychiatrist. Remember that?
Well, so they say. So they say. Right. So they say. So, anyway, sis, you have any last words for the family?
No, I think I done said enough. I think.
Okay.
Enjoyed your tales.
What'd you say, sis?
I've enjoyed your fairy tales. I'll never look at them the same again.
Well, hopefully, I mean, the goal of the show was for the family to see that each one of these stories, these fairy tale stories, are definitely riddled in metaphysics and spirituality. Mm-hmm. So hopefully we can see it for what it is and also teach our children, because even with the story of Alice in Wonderland, it shows how children naturally have a very strong sense of that spiritual world. So now that we are aware of that and we have woken back up and we are becoming creators, it is also our responsibility to make sure we do not stifle our children and the next generation, and to foster and encourage that. So, all right, Brother Sean, you have any last words for the family?
Yeah. Through these fairy tales that others have constructed for us, basically telling a perverted version of who and what we are, it's up to us to create our own and give our kids, our children, the true perspective and light of self. We can't keep depending on other people to do it.
That's right.
You have to save yourself. Saving your children is saving you. That's your immortality on this realm. Your offspring. Other than that, your spirit's supposed to carry on someplace else.
That's
You're not supposed to be here. You're not supposed to be in the rabbit hole.
That's right.